Hello, sorry, a little bit late today by like a minute because I was busy tweeting about the people to tune in. Yes, so I guess I will start soon. Wait, where is chat? I can't find where I put the chat window. Okay, I see it now. I have the chat window up. Audio is a little loud. I'll lower it a little. Whoa, you are 1 minute late, man. I'm sorry, Elite Trainer. I'm so sorry. I was tweeting. Let me just have a sip of my tea. Oh god. Oh god, it's hot. Oh yeah, I have tongue toggle. It's so hot. Should have waited for it to cool down. Okay. Wait, I do have a water bottle here. Oh, I found my water bottle. Water is the best. Yeah, I do have some water. Hold on. Hello, Mark Hunter. Welcome. Alright. So today is Vampire the Masquerade reading stream. We're doing chapter 6, Archon. What happened before this? What did happen before this? It seems like, okay, so I guess the prince of the city is disappeared. People are fighting over the city. Our sire, who is the person who made us a vampire, seems to be in the thick of it, and everyone seems to want us to switch sides, and we're possibly being brainwashed somehow. So now we are entering chapter 6. I guess without further ado, let's start. Alright, chapter 6, Archon. You dream. The city sidewalks are uniform, symmetrical in a way that only a dream or an artist could conjure. The air is frigid, and you shiver unconsciously, something so human that for a moment you forget your nature. Two figures emerge from the fog ahead of you, and as you get closer, their faces swirl into recognizable form. Robert Ward and his Banu Hakim associate 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒐 huddle together, talking in muted tones as they look down on a prone figure splayed out on the concrete, a dead body. Didn't give us much of a choice, Ward is saying. This isn't the way I wanted it to go down. Suck it up, Bobby, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒐 replies coldly. You knew this was the way this would turn out. Be honest with yourself, even if you lie to everyone else. The Bruja growls, but doesn't otherwise reply. You get closer, curious whom they're talking about. They don't notice you as you crane your neck over to get a good look at the corpse. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒐 sniffs with irritation. She's gone now, in any case. You'll need a new patsy. Shame, though. You were right about her. Briar was perfect for the role. You stare down into your own unblinking eyes, and your gaze travels downward over ragged flesh and snapped bone. The air suddenly smells of sulfur. Is this real? Or is your unconscious mind simply trying to make sense of recent events? Through smoke, a new vision. Just like your BGM is a bit high. Okay. Is this better? Is this better? I think it's because I switched the music yesterday, and then I probably thought that the music was kind of low yesterday, so I made the music higher, but then I didn't realize that it's too high today. Is it better? Is it better? Okay. Another place, another time. Robert Ward walks side by side with Arundel, speaking together in animated conversation. You've done it. You've located the missing prince. But what could have persuaded Arundel to run off with an anarch? I know this is difficult for you to understand, Ward says. There's an edge to his voice. It has the ring of a conversation that's been had too many times before. But you gotta know that the whole thing is crooked. She's fought your ideas the whole way through. That's why you can't leave, Robert, Arundel replies. You'd hardly be the last Bruja operating within the Camarilla. Work for me. We can make change together, even if it takes another century. Ward shakes his head. World's not gonna wait that long. You know what I have. Succeed and survive. Okay, dexterity, composure, resolve, charisma, and manipulation wits. Oh, let's look at our stats first. So, charisma and manipulation is still pretty high. I think I want composure up. Or, yeah, composure is really low. So composure is this one. Or we could gain like more charisma and manipulation and wits, which is decent as well. But I feel like we would need more composure. Yeah, I think I will just go with the first one. That he trained extensively in the usage of firearms, not only how to shoot, but how to take my time and pick out the right target. So like in case we need to fight, we can shoot. Yes, I'm gonna select that. Corlys may have given you your preferred firearm, but Arundel taught you how to use it. Under his tutelage, your Desert Eagle grew significantly more deadly, as did your patience and tactical eye. The prince was so impressed with your level of skill that he took you on a hunting trip up north, an outing typically reserved only for the elites. It turned out that hunting trip was a euphemism for raids on isolated Sabbat enclaves, which was a lot more fun than stalking animals through the woods. Through the memory, you feel stronger, the atrophy of your bureaucratic years serving Corlys melting away. You emerge from your bed, feeling absolutely ghastly. Your wounds mended somewhat while you slept, but you have a ways to go before you're good as new. Your hunger makes itself known as you catch your equilibrium. You'll be wanting to feed tonight, or your wounds won't be the only thing you have to worry about. How had you even managed to get back here in one piece? You get dressed and leave your private rooms, simultaneously eager for and dreading Gerard's evening update. Oh yeah, there was a bomb that went off. The ghoul is sitting at his desk as usual, thumbing through a small pile of papers before settling on one and placing a pen on it as a placeholder. "Good evening, ma'am," he says. "Are you feeling recovered after all the commotion last night? It was reckless of you to go after those bombers, you know. You might not still be here tonight if things had turned out differently. It's admirable, though. I think the prince would be pleased that you did your part to help keep his domain secure." Okay, thank you. Have you learned anything new? Miss Grey has managed to keep a lid on the incident for the most part, although the information is filtering through networks of servants such as myself. We need to keep ourselves informed if we are to properly serve your interests. I doubt I know more than you do, since you were there, though I believe Key was able to apprehend one of the individuals who set the bombs. I doubt he's found any kindred involved yet, or I'd have received word of a blood hunt. He clears his throat. I also have an important message from your sire. That's not surprising, you say. I think you should take this seriously, ma'am. She says an Archon has been dispatched to the city. She says you know what that means. It means trouble. What is an Archon again? I actually don't remember. You are struck silent for a moment, stunned. An Archon dispatched to Ottawa. Either that means the most powerful kindred on the continent have learned that Prince Arundel is missing, or something even more sinister is going on. Archons act as ground enforcers for the near-mythical Camarilla elite, and they're rarely seen, even when they're actively deployed. Few kindred have ever met one in person, but when one is openly dispatched to a city, the local kindred will bend over backward to give the appearance of compliance. Many view it as a great shame, a strong suggestion that the local prince is incapable of keeping order in their own domain. Gerard probably reads the concern on your face. Someone quite powerful is concerned about the anarchs causing trouble in public, I'd wager. That can't be the only reason, you mutter. Anarchs cause trouble like this all the time. It would be beneath the Archon's notice unless something else is happening alongside it. But how confident are you of that sentiment? Many younger kindred aren't aware of the existence of the Archons, much less their shadowy masters. Even you have only heard of them because of Corlys's intense battery of studies while you were fledgling. Gerard remains dubious of your assessment. The Anarchs are a problem. If the prince were here, that would be one thing, but if his disappearance has become widely known, these Archons might think they need to take matters into their own hands. I think if Yeah, well, I'll say the first one. I hope you're right. An Archon means trouble regardless of the reason, but that seems to be the most straightforward theory. You seem worried, Gerard says. What else do you think it could be? Should I look into hiring some bodyguards for you? You shake your head. If an Archon wants to do away with me, there's not much a bodyguard can do to stop them. I just need to keep from stepping on any fingers. The ghoul frowns. I'll keep that in mind, ma'am. He clears his throat. In any case, Miss Corliss would like you to come to her office early tonight, presumably regarding the recent arrival. Hunger gnaws at you. Are there any vessels waiting for me, you ask. Gerard shakes his head. These nights have been largely chaotic. The city is on high alert, and I have been unable to procure your meal. My sincerest apologies. Might I suggest you take some time to hunt before going into the office tonight? It could clear your head. Miss Corliss won't be expecting you immediately, and with this Archon around, you won't want to be stepping into the political pool while you're hungry. It's practical advice. At this rate, you'll grow accustomed to hunting again. The pampered life of upper 𝒂𝒓𝒆𝒅𝒊𝒕𒔔 society had blunted your fangs, but sharpening them on new victims almost makes you feel alive again. I'll do that, you say. Thank you for the advice, Gerard. Of course, ma'am. You're just about to head out when you remember your desert eagle. You hadn't brought the weapon with you the previous night, and you regretted it. Then again, tonight, you'll most likely be speaking to an Archon alongside your sire. Going to a meeting like that strapped to kill might not be seen as good form. Of course, you could always try to conceal the weapon, but one doesn't become an Archon by missing the small details. You want to bring your weapon with you. I think I should bring it. It's very dangerous lately. I'll use it as a... wait. I think the first one. There are too many strange things happening. I'm not gonna use it in the negotiations. You spend a few minutes finding an old shoulder holster you haven't used in almost a decade. The weapon fits, but it's tight. If you're going to carry concealed long term, you might want to eventually look into a new way of carrying it. You put a loose-fitting suit jacket on over the top. It manages to cover the holster, but you have to keep it buttoned in polite company. By the time you step out onto the cold, snow-swept Ottawa streets, you've decided where you wish to hunt. Should I go to the... I don't want to owe anyone, so I'm not gonna go for like blood dolls. Should I go to the... I guess I could go to the club again. When you arrive at the club, it's late enough that there's no line, for which you're grateful. The bouncer looks largely the same as he did the last time you encountered him, although he's exchanged his checked shirt for another slightly more colorful checked shirt. A poster up front proudly proclaims tonight is emo night. Has it been so long since the 90s that emo is considered retro? Or are the mortal youth retreading history some would consider best left in the ground? You shake your head. They'd say that agelessness had left you with a terminal case of old woman sensibilities, but you rather think of yourself as refined. As Jordan once joked, am I out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong. Okay, so... yeah, I'll talk to the lady who's like by herself. Like, if you're by yourself, you're like easy prey. I know there's an old man that's like already passed out, but maybe he has like already have alcohols in him. You mingle with the other patrons, slowly working your way over toward the young woman you've targeted. She hasn't moved from her spot since you arrived. A wallflower if you've ever seen one. You briefly make eye contact and she looks away shyly as you approach. She's not exactly receptive, but she's not turning you away either. I comment on the music, hoping to ease her anxiety. This is actually the first time I've come here, she says, straining to be heard over the music. I'm not really used to big crowds. Do you, she laughs at the absurdity of what she was about to say, and then decides to say it anyway. Do you come here often? It's a bit out of my comfort zone. I just wanted to meet new people for once. She brightens up. That's totally it. That's why I'm here too. I don't really get out much, and my friends all went to different colleges, leaving me to die here. Lame AF. My name's Jenny. What's yours? Not wanting to give your real name, you trot out a pseudonym you used to use. Taylor, you say with a smile. Can I get you a drink? She shakes her head. I don't drink, but that's 𝑺𝒕𝒓𝒂𝒎. Want to get out of here? She's surprisingly receptive. Is it your natural charm, or is she so out of her element that she's latching onto the first person who shows interest? Either way, it doesn't matter. You're here to feed, not make friends. You grin, drawing her closer as you sink your fangs into her supple neck and drink deeply, mimicking the motions of a passionate makeout session for any who may be watching. I've never felt like this before, she moans gently as you sate your hunger. What are you? A shiver runs through her whole body, and goosebumps form in ripples down her arms. Her eyes roll back, and her words turn into groans of pleasure. When you've drunk your fill and licked the wounds away, she staggers and almost falls. Not wanting to cause a scene, you help her off the main dance floor so she can recover. Your appetite largely sated for the moment, you decide to move on, always aware that there's a hunger for more that you can never fully extinguish. Your more bestial needs attended to, you decide to head toward 𝑭rlitz's offices. It's still fairly early in the night, and you're feeling confident that your sire won't hold your little hunting trip against you. The elevator hums its usual wordless tune as it ascends into the upper stratosphere of corporate finance, its doors opening into the familiar hubbub of mortals caught up in their last-minute wheeling and dealing before returning home to rest. When the sun rises again, they'll be back bright and early, enthusiastically devoting more of their depressingly finite lives to the generation of wealth your sire uses to keep the hamster wheel of free enterprise ever turning. That is a very long sentence. The double doors to 𝑭rlitz's inner office are closed, and a small queue of besuited worker bees waits impatiently inside, checking their watches and phones every few seconds like a nervous tick they can't control. One of them notices you and flags you over. Briar, Mare, right? He rather forcefully takes your hand and shakes it. I'm Louis Armand. I simply must speak with Eden as soon as possible. Could you inform her that we're in danger of losing the contract with... Other raised voices chatter over Louis as each impatient petitioner clamors to be heard. In the end, they give you little choice but to push past them, knocking on the door to announce yourself before pulling it open, practically diving in before closing it behind you. Who are you? Are you the Archon? You look fancy. You got gloves on. They're still out there, an unfamiliar voice says from a chair in front of 𝑭rlitz's desk. Its occupant has her back to you, legs crossed. She's surprisingly short given the deep, commanding nature of her voice. You'll have to dismiss them, Eden. She cranes her head backward to look at you. And this is your youngest child. Come here, Briar. I don't have all evening to wait while you fidget. 𝑭rlitz's waves you forward and you follow her direction. The woman in the chair folds her black gloved hands together as she looks you over, eyes narrowed, committing every detail to memory. Her arms are thick, and you can tell that they're corded with muscle, even through the formal attire. Despite her intimidating presence, she looks distinctly uncomfortable, though you have little doubt that she could spring to action in an instant, regardless of circumstance. Her gaze lingers for a moment alongside the side of your jacket, where you have your weapon concealed. You wish to see me, you ask 𝑭rlitz's. Not her, the seated woman says flatly. Me. I am Archon. I am Archon Adeline Durand, and it is my intention to finish any business in this frozen wasteland as soon as possible. Your sire informs me that you were recently attacked by the Anarch Robert Ward. Is that correct? Straight to business then. This is clearly not a woman to be trifled with. Could she possibly know about your part in Ward's prison break? Surely you've covered your tracks. Did you leave any clues? If you're going to hide any information from her, you'd better be convincing. We were all attacked. There was a bloodhound and I was on the team. That's very true. Yes, the Archon says, clearly unimpressed with your answer. I am aware of the hunt. What concerns me is the 𝒖🔂💄's interest in you. Corliss clears her throat. Adeline, if Robert has a preoccupation with Briar at all, and that's in dispute, it would be as a way to strike back at me. My concerns about the man are well documented. The best thing he ever did for the city was to leave, and in the end he couldn't even get that right. I'm well aware of your opinion, Eden, the Archon says, a hint of irritation in her voice. I have no interest in retreading that ground. She turns back to you. Despite your sire's suggestions, your name has come up in conjunction with the 𝒖🔂💄's in more than half the interviews I've conducted so far. I'll just stay silent. I like this one, Eden, Archon Adeline says. She knows when to keep her mouth shut and when to open it. I have it on good authority, Briar, that Ward attempted to contact you last night. The Pharaoh, 𝒖🔂💄, has not been subtle since he arrived in Ottawa. Did you meet with Ward? I'll just say the truth. I was held against my will. I saw Ward, yes, but I was held against my will. I had no choice. Corliss's face darkens. And you didn't think to tell me this? I haven't had the opportunity. You weren't at a delicious event last night and I wasn't sure where to find you. We don't have phones anymore. Excuses, valid as they may be, have no place here, Corliss says. She's slowly calming down. She knows she can't afford to lose her temper in front of the Archon. Take some responsibility, Briar. You bow your head in deference. I'm not interested in squabbles between you and your child, Corliss, Archon Adeline says, eyeing you closely. Where did you see Ward? Chinatown, north of Somerset Street. You detail the location as best as you can. Ward was with a woman I've never seen before. He called her 𝒂💏. Adeline perks up. Turkish woman, long black hair. You nod, and she had 2 Rottweilers with her. Might make her easier to track. That's her. She pauses and thinks for a moment, like she's putting together pieces of a puzzle. Be careful with that one. You get the impression that the Archon is saying this to both you and your sire. She's Banu Hakim, and quite a bit more deadly than that Vizier you have up here collecting mothballs. And what exactly did you discuss during your time together? He said the exhibition was going to be bombed. He didn't seem interested in anything else. An interesting move for him, Adeline says. More sophisticated than I typically give him credit for. The puzzle is starting to come together thanks to your cooperation. If you were hoping for her to share any revelations, you end up disappointed. It seems the Archon isn't prone to giving monologues. She turns to Corliss. I trust I'll have unrestricted access to your resources until the 𝒖🔂💄 situation has been dealt with. Of course. Then I believe we're done here, Adeline says abruptly. She stands and picks up a pork pie hat from beside the chair. It doesn't fit at all with her formal attire, and she doesn't put it on. But the way she handles the worn black fabric speaks to familiarity and comfort. It will be good to get back on the streets again, she says. Formalities bore me, Eden. Next time, we'll meet on my terms. The Archon eyes you critically. If you're going to carry a weapon like that in the workplace, Briar, at least learn to conceal it better. A poorly concealed handgun doesn't necessarily break our codes of conduct, but it could very well attract the attention of mortal authorities. I'm here to put fires out, not fuel them. Next time, choose to be more discreet. She opens the door and shoos away Corliss's few remaining hopeful business associates, disappearing from view as the heavy wooden door swings closed. Well, I was gonna... It's dangerous. I had to bring my gun. Corliss waits a full minute before speaking. She wants to be sure that the Archon is well and truly gone. That woman is insufferable, Briar, and she has no concept of how we run things in this city. She points at your shoulder holster. Your weapon is adequately concealed and necessary in times like these. She forgets that mortals don't possess her attention to detail. I swear she only came here to henpeck me to death. She demands my attention and then complains for almost 10 full minutes about what she had to wear in order to fit in. She actually suggested we should meet at a bar. Can you imagine the scandal? A bar. I nod and remain silent. It's good that you agree, Corliss says. Unfortunately, I have little choice but to entertain her. A well-positioned prince might be able to get away with briefly flouting the will of an archon, but with Ottawa destabilized and no clear leader, it would be best to satisfy her curiosity and send her on her way as quickly as possible. If we're lucky, she might deal with our anarch problem while she's at it. Your sire lapses into an uncomfortable quiet, leaving you feeling awkward and fidgeting. Is there anything else I can do to assist you? You ask, hoping to leave as soon as possible. We haven't much time to speak of your activities in recent nights. Corliss says, I should ask you about your assignment. Were you able to speak with the old sewer rat? I managed to get several minutes alone with 𝒂𝒎, though I'm not sure how much useful information I got. I'll be the judge of that, Corliss says, leaning forward. I was surprised that the door to his haven was unlocked even when he was away. Is that unusual behavior for him? With almost any other kindred, I'd find that quite odd. But Michelle, Corliss smiles bloodlessly. Michelle is known for... Michelle, I guess, Michelle. Michelle is known for elaborate tricks that eventually turn deadly. Leaving his home seemingly empty so he can watch you nose around is an old trick. Did you find anything interesting? I found a very detailed map of the sewers and tunnels beneath 𝒂𝒎. He had it spread over his desk like he'd been studying the tunnels recently. It just struck me as odd. Why odd? Corliss asked. Surely a horror has every reason to possess maps of the sewer systems. I think the bottom one. I felt it safe to assume he would already be familiar with every tunnel. A map suggests that he was showing another kindred on how to leave the city through the underground. An intriguing suggestion? Corliss says, stroking her chin. You feel somewhat vindicated for bringing the map to her attention. But even if that was his intent, there aren't any tunnels that connect below the river, are there? I think you'd be surprised how many hidden tunnels the sewer rats have had their servants dig below these cities in the last 2 centuries. That being said, I'm not aware of any tunnel that spans below the river, but its existence wouldn't be entirely surprising. She taps the desk rhythmically with her perfectly manicured nail. Enough about the map. Did the old man even show up? What did you learn from him? I wasn't alone for long. He came in while I was admiring a painting of his. The Wolford. Corliss says, it doesn't come off as a question, but you answer anyway. Yes, he suggested I should be ashamed for not knowing the artist's name. Rosira laughs. You think it may be genuine this time. That petty leper enjoys his song and dance. When I first visited him 50 or more years ago, we had much the same exchange. I'm convinced he gets a perverse pleasure for implying that his guests have no sense of culture or history. An amusing affectation for one scraping by in a city sewer. She clears her throat. But that's not why I sent you. What did you learn? He claimed that one of his associates saw several Tremere in the tunnels beneath Parliament Hill. That seems to get Corliss's attention. Those backstabbing idiots! You look at her questioningly. I just had them in here the other night for preliminary talks about reintegrating them back into their domains here in Ottawa. But didn't they leave of their own accord? She nods. As a political protest when Arundel welcomed the Banu Hakim, they wanted their return to be of a more official nature, rather than be viewed as if they were slinking back. She rolls her eyes. Politics and perception. That makes sense, you say, but why would they be skulking around under Parliament? I have no idea, she growls, but you can be sure I'll find out. A knock at the door. A sharp knock comes from the door, and Corliss bids you to open it. A tall man slips into the room and stands to your left, straightening his jacket. You recognize him as one of Corliss's goals. Yes, Gregory, Corliss asks. What is so important that it cannot wait with the rest of the cretins outside? Apologies, mistress, but Alicia Gray has arrived and she insists on seeing you. She refuses to take no for an answer. Corliss curses under her breath. The stress of her position is clearly weighing on her. She'll want to know how I intend to deal with the attack on the exhibition, she mutters to herself. Briar, you're dismissed for the evening. I have other matters to attend to. And for God's sake, try to avoid being accosted by anarchs again. Maybe stay at home and read a book. She slams an open palm down on her desk. No more crises. You pat the gun in your shoulder holster. I'm taking the situation seriously. Don't worry about me. I'll be careful. You'd better be, Corliss snips and dismisses both of you and her servant. Send Miss Gray in when you leave. Hello, Ethan Lim. Welcome. Not an hour into the stream, but this is chapter 6, so you might need a bit of a... okay. Have you read chapter... have you gone through chapter 5 at least? So I'm drinking some tea. So I can give a short recap. Basically, a very important person arrived to the city, and then we got interrogated by her, and then we gave info to our sire, and that's about it for now. And now we're going out into the street. You'll understand as we go through, don't worry. Alright, sure, thank you, Ethan. Whew. You decide that it might be a good time to pay Luca a visit. Knowing what she's been involved in, you're a bit worried she'll become a target. Besides, after you joined her in the confrontation with Moretti, you could be drawn into an investigation if the Archon looks closely at police reports and Key's private files. Not that she's working with the Anarchs, but the assault on the church will raise a few eyebrows at the very least. It doesn't take you long to reach her haven, and when you do, you waste no time knocking on the door. Briar, you hear an electronic voice only vaguely resembling Luca's come through a speaker beside the door. She must see you through a camera. Yeah, it's me, you say. You need a new speaker out here, I can barely hear you. Just hold on. Something clunks on the other side of the line, and then her voice is crystal clear. Cord was loose. You want in, or were you thinking of standing out in the snow? Coming in might be nice, you reply, pleased to be on familiar enough terms with Luca that she's comfortable letting some sarcasm loose around you. She might need to work on it though. The door buzzes and you hear an internal latch pull aside. Come on up, I've got an entire top floor to myself. You can't help but feel proud of her. A penthouse is a fitting place for a highborn toreador. Perhaps one night you should look into such lofty accommodations yourself. Only the best, right? Luca's suite is the peak of modern decor and design, almost Spartan in its simplicity. It's all angles of stone countertop and tile floor, stark white and black sparring for domination over landscape with precious little color in between. She offers you a brief hug and when you walk in the door, which catches you off guard. You hadn't been expecting a display of affection, but you return the gesture anyway. It simply wouldn't do to be rude, especially when you're a guest in her new home. So, you didn't get enough of me the other night, she asks. After what went down, I wouldn't think you want to come anywhere near my place. That's the main reason why I'm here, actually, you say. We don't know if Moretti had any associates, kindred or kind. And after what we did last night, we should probably check in on each other. It's just pragmatic. Just pragmatism? Luca asks. She's looking at you funny. What she's getting at. Anything else on your mind? Oh my god, we can romance her if we want. Should we romance her? How does she even look like? I don't remember. Do we even have a picture of her? Oh, we have really good relationship with her. It's 61%. Do we have a picture of her? The camera. Other notable kindred in Ottawa. Luca Corliss. Oh, that's how she looks like. She looks okay, I suppose. I don't know if I would romance anyone though. IDK what to say? IDK what she looks like. That's fair. I don't know if I should romance her. We didn't even meet. We only met her like a little time. Where's the can we be best friend option? There's no can we be best friend option, unfortunately. Maybe we will like hint a romance, but to just see what happens, but we won't actually do the full romance if it happens, I guess. We'll try that. So I think I may be developing stronger feelings for Luca. I'm willing to see where this goes, but I'm not going to come right out and say it. A hint won't hurt, though. Maybe a few things, you say. A few things, Luca replies. She tries to arc an eyebrow, but fails. Turns out not everyone can do that. What kinds of things? I guess we'll have to find out. She laughs. You're maddening, you know that? Absolutely. She motions to you to follow her through the suite, leading you through a living room that's far too big for any one person, and over to a floor-to-ceiling window. She looks out over the streets of Ottawa. They're out there right now, you know, she says, as her eyes trace the snow-swept streets with where the voracity vampires usually reserve for prey. In a way, the roads are arteries, directing the paths of walking sacks of meat and blood. You shake your head. That's the beast talking. You can't let the past few nights get to you. They, you ask. You can't be sure who she's referring to. The magisters, the Sombra, Basaras, and his toadies, here to wheedle their way into the Camarilla. And now we find out that another one of them was staying here in secret, replacing a priest and building a small army of ghouls, feeding them his blood like a communion. It's just wrong, Briar. We didn't have time to speak at Alicia's exhibition before everything went to hell. Well, you probably could have spoken to her, but you'd had more pressing concerns on your mind at the time. There was no way you could have known how quickly the bombs would go off. She growls with frustration. It really bothers me how quick the council had been to forgive the La Sombra for the decades their Sabbat packs terrorized Ottawa from their base in Montreal. I've been arguing with Corliss about them ever since she brought me back here, and I never argue with her. Courting the La Sombra is a mistake, and no one's ever going to change my mind about that. They poison everything they touch, and I come back here only to find that Arundel and Corliss have been negotiating with them for months. You decide to play devil's advocate for a moment. If Arundel extended hospitality to Michaelis, doesn't he have the right to be here? Luca sighs. Let me tell you something about his kind, Luca says, gesturing at Michaelis. The La Sombra believe, and I mean wholeheartedly believe, that they invented the Catholic Church. That Christendom is a tool that they've used for centuries to fight back against the Camarilla. But I've learned a lot more than the average kindred in the ivory tower. She leans over and looks you in the eyes. I've spent my off time researching for years now. Holy texts, historic documents. I've spoken to experts about Christ, both kindred and mortal. Do you know what my conclusion was? You shake your head. I have no idea. The La Sombra are only parasites. They latched onto the faith and tried to steer it, but it took control of them in the end. And it's not just Christianity that they tried this with. When they instigated the Crusades, they started wiping each other out en masse. They couldn't even wage a holy war without destroying each other. You're Catholic though, you say. Are you sure your faith isn't coloring the way your research trended, the results you found? I've thought about it, Luca says. I have an obvious bias, which is why I spoke to so many people, gathered so many stories. I didn't want to find ones that fit my ideals and end my search there. Some of my conclusions were uncomfortable, but the greater hypothesis survived. The La Sombra are parasites on Abrahamic religion, not the founders of it. Sounds like you've really thought this through. She nods. Sorry for the rant. I haven't really been able to talk to anyone about it. It just ties into what Mare was doing. And you know that Basaras knew about it. There's no way he didn't know that one of his kind had infiltrated Ottawa under our noses. We just need to find proof. What kind of proof? Luca shakes her head. I don't know. Correspondence of some kind between them. La Sombra don't use phones all that often. They malfunction. If they were planning something, it might be written down. Letters sent via courier. Okay, I'll say it. Like, even if you have proof, nobody's gonna listen. Unless it benefits them in some way. Of course they benefit, Luca says. Something like this going on right under their noses. It's an insult, an embarrassment. Dealing with it swiftly and without mercy would be a show of strength that would make others question the idea of repeating Moretti's mistake. She turns her back on the window and walks you over to the kitchen table. Its surface is covered with a well-ordered checkerboard of photographs and detailed handwritten notes. I have been monitoring 𝑮𝒂𝒎𝒆 rental for a few days, she says. He leaves at almost the same time every night. Last time I followed him, he was walking south toward the Queensway, but I lost track of him. I think he was using that shadow trick they have. The next night he did the same thing, so I kept exploring. There is a synagogue a block from where he starts his disappearing act, and 𝒂𝒎𝒆 does his play acting as a rabbi, you say with a nod. Sounds reasonable. Typical 𝒂𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔, preying on the religious. She points to a picture of a beautiful building that you haven't seen for quite some time. You haven't even really registered it as a place of worship. He's doing something there, every night with rare exceptions. I haven't had the guts to keep going to the synagogue yet, but if you're with me, at least I'll know that if he gets the drop on me, I won't just disappear without a trace. Don't get me wrong, I don't plan on getting caught. I thought you wanted to find messages, you say. Hard proof. I still do, she replies. I've seen enough 𝒂𝒐𝒄𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔 in the last several decades to know how they operate when they're undercover. They're more aggressive when they're directing full Sabbat packs, but when they're feeling out a new place to take over, they're all cloak and dagger, spy stuff. You think it's a dead drop? Luca nods. Yup, and if we can intercept those messages, there's your proof. She picks up the picture of the synagogue and examines it closely. Worst comes to worst, if we don't find him at all and we have to come up with a new plan. Or maybe we'll catch him meeting a traitor from the council in secret, but my money's on it being a dead drop. You're planning this trip for tonight then, you ask. Sure am. Alright, sure, I'll come. I'll go along with you, but we need to be very cautious. Even a hint that he's seen us and we back off. I can't let this turn into a major incident. Too much at stake already. So you come. Lucas looks positively starry-eyed. That's great. And don't worry, I don't want this to blow up any more than you do. Trust me. I won't be winning Corliss over if I screw up Ottawa's relationship with Chicago. We'll play it safe as we can, I promise. She grabs a few notebooks and stuffs them into her pocket. If we head out in the next few minutes, we'll be there in time to catch him. You ready for this? A bit abrupt, but I'm ready. Well, you did catch me a few minutes before I was going to head out. I didn't know you were planning on showing up, but I'm glad you did. She waves you to the front door. Let's go. We'll take my car and park a few blocks from 𝒂𝒎𝒆's place. From there, we'll go in on foot. And hello, 𝑴𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒔, welcome. Sorry, when I'm reading, I gotta finish reading before I can address people. But welcome. I hope you have caught up to the rest of the streams, otherwise this might be a little confusing. Unless you just want something to listen to, then if you want something to listen to, we're reading throughout the day. Throughout the night. Throughout the next few hours. You know what I mean. Next. Okay, let me just take a sip of my tea. You just chilling? Okay, great. Snowfall beats against the windshield of Luca's car as she drives carefully down the mostly abandoned Ottawa streets. One of the wipers is covered with ice, streaking the passenger side glass with meltwater and salt. You could probably fix it easily, but neither of you wants to get out of the car until you reach your destination. Welcome back to Canada, eh? Luca says as she turns the wiper speed up. You laugh. I think I missed you. How can you tell? She turns off the main road onto a smaller side street and slows down before pulling to the side and shutting off the engine. The car headlights go out, leaving only the illumination of the street lamps filtering through the ever-shifting snow flurries. The air has that indefinable crispness to it that only fresh snowfall can provide. We're a few blocks out now. We have to do the rest on foot. Glad we don't really have to worry about the cold. Should we be worried about 𝒂𝒎𝒆 seeing our footprints in the snow? She holds her hand out and it's instantly covered in a fine layer of snow. This will fill in our prints pretty well before he comes back the way he's going. You brush the snow off your arm along a gap between your coat and mitts. It's strange how the flakes linger on you like they would on an inanimate object. Nothing melts when it touches your dead skin. On a mortal, that snow would already be a thin layer of warming water. You shake it off and pay more attention to the world around you. Luca had asked you something and you completely missed it. What was that? I asked if you met the Archon yet. Yeah, you say, folding her over to the other side of the road before you lose her in the whirling snow. Piece of work, isn't she? I thought she was going to bite my head off when I asked if she was here because of the 𝑙a★Sombre. Not my business, she said. At least she didn't seem too interested in me one way or the other. You step up on the curb and continue down to the end of the block. She was interested in me, you say. Or maybe not me, per se, but just the Anarchs and why Ward seemed interested in me. So she's here because of the Anarchs, Luca says. I should have known. She holds up a hand to stop you before rounding the next corner. We're almost there. Take it slow and act casual. If we're lucky, he won't see us approach, but if he does, we can't afford to look suspicious. There he is, Luca whispers. Finally. He's late. The two of you have been crouched behind a row of manicured bushes icing glistening white snow for almost 15 minutes, waiting for the rabbi to show up. You've been just about to suggest leaving when the front door of the rented home opens up, revealing an unmistakable figure with a long gray beard. He turns back and locks the door before heading out to the south. A quick look to the left and right, and he's off in precisely the direction Luca predicted. You should be more aware of your surroundings, old man, Luca mutters. The city isn't as friendly to your kind as you think it is. Once 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 is almost a block away, she moves to follow him and you trail behind, mimicking her movements. She's done this before, after all. Hopefully she knows what she's doing. Several minutes later. It's impossible to miss when 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 does his disappearing trick. 1 second he's there, the next time you look he's not. If there were any mortals around, it would be a blatant breach of the masquerade. A growl from Luca tells you that she's thinking the same thing. Remember the plan, Luca whispers. We'll keep going at the same pace until we reach the synagogue. Keep quiet and casual. Coat hood far up so he can't see much of our faces. I feel like we don't have to follow him, right? Because, like, we know where he's going. We should just go there. That's not a bad idea, Luca says. I'm embarrassed. I didn't think of it before. Well, you couldn't have guessed where he was going until you scouted out the area. We're still not sure where he's going, but if you're right, there's no real need to actually trail him out in the open. You turn down a side street as casually as you can, trying to pull up the grid of the city streets from memory. This way, you direct Luca down a series of small alleys and eventually pop up on another street. Where are we? This can't be right. You scratch your head. I was short. Ah, I know where I made the mistake. You reverse direction and take an alley to the west instead of east. It makes all the difference, and you pop out right beside the synagogue. Hopefully you've made it in time, even after your confusion. The synagogue looms over the sidewalk, darkened windows staring out at the streets of Ottawa with hostility, as though all joy has been drained from within its walls, leaving only malice and deep-seated resentment. You're certain that this was once a place of celebration and worship, but that was before 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 arrived. After seeing what Father Moretti did to St. Anthony of Padua, you can only wonder what 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 has wrought here. You feel that, right? Luca whispers as the two of you huddle in the shadows of a nearby alley. You nod. Feels like death. Hard to explain. A light flickers to life inside the synagogue. There! Luca exclaims through gritted teeth. I was right. She's already started moving. Or it could be a coincidence. She looks back on you with a wry smile. No such thing. You come in or what? We've already gone this far. Let's go closer. Something needs to be done, 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 says to a tall figure cloaked in shadow. You would barely know that the second vampire was there if it weren't for a thin red tie that he's wearing, pulled tight around his pale white neck like a noose. The sheriff has been caught meddling in our affairs twice now. That is what they do they not? The figure hisses. Simply being close enough to hear his voice feels like your spirit is being sucked away into a starless void. A sheriff cannot help being a sheriff. You presume to question my judgment, Javier? 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 asks. There's tightly controlled anger in his voice, like he's ready to lash out at any moment. Something has him wound up tight. Okay, hi, Nizunix. No, Javier replies, stone cold. He hasn't moved a muscle since you crept out to the window. I'll do as you ask. Just like that, 𝒂💏 says. No, you must have a plan. Since when have I needed a plan? You brought me here as a knife in the dark. That is what I remain. Why complicate matters? This isn't some fledgling right off the embrace, 𝒂💏 says, shaking his head. This is a sheriff, and he's not a political appointee. He's strong, don't underestimate him. I suppose you have a means available to me then. 𝒂💏 hands Javier 2 old-looking cell phones and a slip of paper. There are 2 numbers on here. He points at the paper. And a backup cell in case you accidentally break the first one. The first number is for a mortal we can use to blackmail the sheriff and force him to meet you beneath the Shaw Center. I've arranged for the black parking lot to be empty. Once you have him alone and cornered in the dark, you can do what you do best in privacy. Take him off the board, Javier asks. You sure? Certain. He smiles grimly. We can't allow skeptics to turn us back now when we're so close to being openly accepted in this domain. I've worked too hard for this. Remember the unity, Javier. We will spread the oneness of Shalim throughout this land. Have faith. He turns and stares out a window several feet away from you, slowly scanning for watchers as you and Luca duck low. And be careful. I'm certain I was being followed on the way here, but I managed to give them the slip. Javier frowns, but says nothing. You're only going to get one shot at this. He turns and starts to walk away without another word as Javier steps out of sight, back into the rear of the synagogue. It's time to leave. I can't believe what we just heard, Lucas says as the 2 of you pause for a moment behind the cover of a large dumpster. We have to do something. What? Tell Key we were spying on a diplomat? Are you sure that's a good idea? Luca nods. I think it's worth it, all things considered. He'll forgive us when he survives the night. Can we? I don't think we have a phone. Nah, I think we just go there and warn him directly. The police center is a buzzing hive of activity, but you'd find no sign of Key whatsoever. You just missed him, the desk clerk says, blinking his useless cow eyes at you lazily. Sometimes mortals can be absolutely infuriating, but the man is probably telling the truth. Well, where did he go? You ask, barely restraining your anger. The clerk's face loses its friendly veneer. You think the chief tells me where he's going every time he leaves. I can't tell you what I don't know. Luca grabs your arm. It's not worth it. He doesn't know anything and we're wasting time. We should head to the Shaw Center, but I want a little more backup. Who can we tell? You ask. I'm not sure bringing anyone else into the loop is a good idea. Don't worry, Luca says. She's about as trustworthy as you can get in these circles, especially with you involved. That's a rare commodity. You don't mean? Let's go pick up Jordan. You're not sure how good the police would be here? No, we were gonna go to the police station to warn him, because he's normally at the police station. But apparently he left already. It takes surprisingly little prompting to recruit Jordan for your rescue expedition. You've arrived at her home in record time, and you're certain that Luca broke several reckless driving laws to do so. When Jordan answered the door, she was already dressed and ready to go. So it's Key that 𝒂💏 is after, Jordan asks as the 3 of you get into the car. I saw that we'd be going, but I didn't know where. I just knew you'd show up and we'd be saving someone. Does that line work on everyone? Luca asks as she guns the engine. Not sure who actually buys into this new age stuff. Jordan sniffs with irritation. Do you want my help or not? If I was trying to impress you, I would have pretended to know everything and let you fill in the details. People bragging about powers they don't have rarely admit their flaws. Okay, Luca says. Sorry, I'm on edge. She pulls back out onto the street and heads east toward the ambush site. It's no big deal, Jordan says. I'm already a part of this anyway. This is the way it always goes down, and I always forgive you. Luca doesn't say anything for over a minute of awkward silence. Finally, she continues on as if nothing happened. There might be someone else with Key, someone blackmailing him. If I understood 𝒂💏 right, they're going to lead Key into the trap. It's immortal, Jordan says. He usually doesn't survive. How do you... Luca says before shutting her mouth with a sharp click of teeth. You know what, never mind. The Shaw Center is unlike any structure in Ottawa. The towering wall above its front entrance is a bending array of mirrored geometry, reflecting the road and distant skyline back like a funhouse mirror, fractured into dozens of triangular segments. Stacked wood railroad ties resting in front of the building serve as unlikely benches for weary passerby. As you drive north to the front of the building, it quickly becomes clear that the area is deserted. There's no one here, Lucas says quietly. Are we too late? Look! Jordan points out the window as you pass by the cross street. I think I saw them walking into the tunnel. Damn it, Lucas says. We have to turn around. She wrenches the wheel to the left, sending the car lurching over the concrete median dividing the road as she sweeps into an illegal U-turn. By the time you turn left into the cross street, Key and his companion are nowhere to be seen. They must have gone into the tunnel, Jordan says, peering forward. Daly Avenue goes underground for a few blocks. Looks like most of the lights are out down there. Bet that's not an accident. Luca pulls the car to the side of the road and gets out. You and Jordan join her. We're gonna have to go in there, she says. Basara said that off Quay in the parking garage is a right exit and runs inside the tunnel. If we want to catch the bastard by surprise, we need to go in on foot. I think we should get the car and go inside. Because it'll be fast. I mean, it's a parking garage and a tunnel. That will make more sense. Why are we going on foot? And then, like, if they see us, they'll probably stop and be like, what the heck is going on, you know? Yeah, we'll take the car. Not necessarily subtle, Lucas says, but also not a bad idea. We won't catch anyone by surprise that way, though. You sure? You nod. We need to keep Key safe. If we scare off the assassin, rather than destroy him, that's still a win. Luca nods and motions for you to get back into the car. Okay then, let's get that son of a bitch. The car's headlights cut through the darkness as you enter the tunnel. Ahead of you, on the right, an entrance ramp blockaded by a half-dozen large orange pylons leads into an underground garage. Bastard blocked the way, Luca growls. Fuck it. She stomps on the gas pedal. We're going through. Ooh, I got a road rage achievement. You grip the padded seat tightly to protect you against a crash as Luca's car speeds through the barriers, lurching up and over, first on the left and then on the right. If you were mortal, you might have suffered whiplash. We're clear, Luca whoops. Wait, what the hell? Twisting ebony arms slide across the pavement and warp shadows around the front end of the car, dragging it to a stop before squeezing inward, smashing metal and glass as they reach for you. Through the encroaching window, you catch a quick glimpse of a man dressed all in black before he disappears behind a thick concrete support column. Hold tight! Luca yells as he shifts into reverse, ripping the car free. That's definitely him. The La Sombra, she spits. Shadow constructs. I've studied the... The back end of the car smashes into the scattered pylons, and the airbags deploy, forcing Luca back against her seat. Shh! Get out the car! You shove the door open and roll out onto the pavement, dizzy for a moment before your head clears. The grasping shadows have disappeared, and for a moment you wonder if you imagined the whole thing. We need to move! He needs our help! A sudden gunshot rings out through the garage, stinging your ears as the sound ricochets off walls and pillars. All three of you duck even lower, and you sweep your eyes over every inch of the blackened walls for any sign of movement. There! Jordan points over at a blue Toyota Corolla. I don't see anything, you say. It was Key, I'm sure of it, Jordan says. I took my eyes off him for a second and then he was gone. Sounds like Key, alright, Luca says. Wait, look over there! She points at the car behind the Corolla where you can barely make out a bizarre rolling void whipping about along the pavement soundlessly, and otherworldly shadows searching for prey. It's getting closer to where Key was, Luca whispers. What is it? Jordan asks, peering up from behind the concrete median. Another one of those things, Luca whispers. Javier isn't playing around. Okay, Okay, I think we have 2 dots of hunger. I think we'll just do presents. We'll just get the aggro off him. And then when we get the aggro off him, they will they will, we can target him. Like, everyone else can target him. It's risky, but what better way to thwart a stealthy assassination attempt than to pull all attention to myself? I call out at the top of my lungs, drawing all eyes to me. You give Luca and Jordan a heads up before calling out wordlessly into the dark void of the garage, channeling your vampiric gifts into a siren song that will be irresistible to mortals and impossible for kindred to completely ignore. You sure that was a good idea? Jordan asked. We want to stop an assassination, you reply. What better way than to pull away the killer's attention? Luca whispers, putting a finger to her lips. Listen. Up ahead in the darkness, you can make out a trio of parked cars outlined by one of the few distant lights that still manage to cling to life. Behind the cars, something skitters about in response to your call, followed by a desperate groan from further away. He's still okay, Luca says. We've gotta help him. As you round the cars, you catch sight of a darkly dressed figure leaning over a body lying prone on the pavement, fangs deep in his victim's neck. You can't quite make out who's who, but you don't want to take any chances. Waving Luca and Jordan on you, you rush toward the two men. You're still several feet away when a blood-smeared face looks up from the body and snarls at you like a cornered beast. Key, you grasp. The sheriff's face is twisted with rage and he growls at you like an animal guarding its kill. His clothes are dark with blood, and his left arm has been mangled and wrenched from its socket. You stop in your tracks, and when he's sure you're no longer closing in, he sinks his teeth back into the assassin's neck, drinking the Magister's Brité in audible slurps and gulps. Jesus, Jordan gasps as she arrives behind you. Should we stop him? He's gonna drink him dry. Who cares? Luca says as he closes in from the left. Javier is no kin of mine. You know Arundel forbids diablerie? Jordan hisses. They almost destroyed each other. If Key drains him, it's like cannibalism. And the world will be free of the monster forever, Luca says. He's the sheriff. Taking out the trash is part of his job. I say we walk away and let him finish what he started. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Arundel made it very clear that diablerie is forbidden. If we can put a stop to it, we should. Luca throws up her hands. Fine! Hopefully this won't come back to bite us in the ass. The three of you form a circle around the fleeing sheriff, watching closely for a point where he'll be shaded enough to temper the urges of the beast without allowing the defeated vampire to be drained completely. As Key's wounds start to mend, Jordan nods and you each rush in, pulling the struggling sheriff away from his prey. He twists in your grip with an almost overwhelming ferocity, nearly bashing your face in with a bony fist. But between the three of you, you're able to hold him back as he slowly regains his senses. I thought we were going to lose him for a second there. Jordan gasps as Key finally stops struggling. It was a stupid risk, Luca says. If he hadn't been so wounded, we might not be standing here. He groans. She's right, he gasps, pulling his arm away and dragging the back of his hand over his mouth to wipe up the excesses of his feeding. He stares at it for a moment and then licks it clean. Warm Brité shouldn't go to waste, he says, leaning back against a concrete pillar. The three of you got here just in time, he says. Son of a bitch had a mortal lead me into the garage. I wasn't exactly expecting the sombre envoy to drop shadows on me. Reckless. He shakes his head. What happened to the mortal? Luca asked. He must have been important if you followed him in here alone. His face goes stony. I owe you thanks, but not an explanation. I was here on business, and that's all you need to know. Yeah, what should we do with Javier? She's too much of a danger to just let him go. Let me worry about Javier, he says. His lips twist in a grimace of distaste. Even Corliss wouldn't support this behavior for someone hoping to join the Camarilla. They'll be exiled from the city. If I had my way, he'd meet final death tonight, but we don't need the political fallout from Chicago. Our relations are fragile enough as it is. You know that's not enough, Luca protests. He fixes her with a withering glare. Don't push my charity too far, child. Be grateful that I don't ask how you knew where to find me tonight. You can see in his eyes that he has a pretty good idea of how Luca learned what she knew. Get back to your car. It's nearly dawn. You watch the city roll by in silence for several minutes before Luka turns the radio on and flips through the channels until she hits some hard rock song you've never heard before and probably never want to hear again. You're surprised by how smoothly the car runs after the damage done to it, but Luka insists that it's reliable despite the cracked windshield and dented doors. Why don't I feel like I've accomplished anything? Luka asks you over the music. Everything we've done tonight, and I still feel cold. I thought I'd feel something. Anything. We did the right thing coming here, Jordan says. I think he will see that and remember it. Luka shakes her head. I didn't do this for Key. We foiled 𝑬𝒐𝒂𝒎's plans and Key survived. Even if you didn't do it for Key, it's still a win. Look at the bright side. 𝑬𝒐𝒂𝒎 is gonna be angry as hell. Luka manages to smile. He's gonna be pissed, isn't he? Furious. You know he will be. You say. You're pleased that you've managed to cheer her up at least a little bit. Jordan shifts in the backseat, looking out the window. I was telling the truth when I told you that I knew we'd be fighting together tonight, she says. But what I still don't understand is why 𝑬𝒐𝒂𝒎 wanted Key destroyed in the first place. Did either of you hear a real explanation? Truth be told, you hadn't. Not really. All you'd overheard was 𝑬𝒐𝒂𝒎 saying that Key has interfered with his business more than once. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the sheriff is onto whatever they're plotting. It's even possible that Key merely stumbled onto the envoy's plots by accident while he was investigating the Anarch's concerns. I'll say we didn't hear much more than we've already mentioned. If there was a specific reason 𝑬𝒐𝒂𝒎 didn't mention it to Javier. Well, Luka says he didn't mention it while we were listening. I'm sure Javier knew exactly what he was getting into. He didn't strike me as the type to jump blindly into life or death situations. It's frustrating, you say, knowing we've ruined his plans while not knowing why he made the plans in the first place. And we're back to me feeling like shit, Luka says. An awkward silence lingers, and all you can hear is the crunching of the car's tires along the icy road. The conversation winds down into more mundane topics until Luka pulls up in front of Jordan's haven. She gets out from the back seat and thanks Luka for including her in the adventure before disappearing into a surprisingly quaint 1970s style home. I'm glad we brought Jordan along, Luka says. Sometimes she rubs me the wrong way, but when the chips are down, it's good to have someone like that in your corner. Even if she does annoy the hell out of me with the new age stuff. You really don't think the visions are real? Luka shrugs as she makes her way back to her haven. Who knows? It just seems too convenient that she knows just enough to be part of the action, but never enough to, avoid being surprised by shadow tentacles leaping out of the walls. A heads up might have been nice is all I'm saying. The snow has turned into a mix of ice and rain and is streaking the windshield again. Sometimes I really wish Corliss hadn't recalled me to Canada. This weather is the worst. Don't worry, you say. Pretty soon we can enjoy a whole 2 weeks of spring before summer is here. Luka says, Oh, Canada. Luka sighs, Oh, Canada. Our home and native land, you quote the national anthem with a smirk. She smiles. Shut up. Feeling better? A little. Her hands relax her death grip on the wheel. More than a little. I think this has been good for me. I've barely seen you in years and we were never what I've been called close. Embraced by the same sire, sure, but years apart from each other. Our mortal lives were different. Born in different provinces to different parents. We'd never even have met if it wasn't for Corliss. But I'm glad we did. We worked well together tonight, Briar. Okay, I don't want to do the strong feelings thing. We'll do little feelings. We're doing little feelings. So I would like hold her hand while she drives. We did work well together, you say. You offer your hand, and she wastes no time taking it. It's cold and clammy, but you suppose your own is as well. You're both technically dead after all. She glances over at you, probably to see if you're being serious or unkind, and you smile to let her know that affection is genuine. I just knew somehow, you know, she says. It sounds stupid, but when we were on the hunt for Ward, when we were staring down death and fire, I knew there was something between us, a spark. I felt like an idiot when I didn't pursue it, but then you came to me. You're not an idiot for being cautious, you say. It's the world we abide in. Kindred use each other, and sometimes you have to be sure about what you're doing before you open yourself up. I think we could be good together. Let's see how it goes. This is the only truly good thing that's happened to me since I moved back here, she says. You're not just messing with me, are you? Wait. Okay, the idea makes sense. If we work well together, so why not be closer? Worst comes to worst, we can just be colleagues again. I just don't want to mess this up, Luca says. Give me more time to think about how I want to move forward. You squeeze her hand, linger, and then let go. Of course, I'm not in a rush. In theory, we have an eternity, but with warehouses exploding and outsiders attacking the city, I hope we don't take too long to decide. It's a crazy world out there. Sure is, she smiles. Let's get you home before I get too impulsive and take you back to my place. Well, that escalated quickly. I'm a fan of quick escalations, Luca says with a nervous laugh. It's gotten me into trouble on more than one occasion. But for now, shall I take you home? Sounds good. It's almost dawn anyway. I'm exhausted. Luca laughs. We better get some sleep. Who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow? You really wish she hadn't say that, but she's probably right. You best be prepared for anything Ottawa can throw at you in the coming nights. The lights are off when you arrive home, and flicking the switch to turn them on does little to dispel the oppressive mood. The spacious rooms feel unnaturally empty in Gerard's absence. You've grown accustomed to the ghoul meeting you at the end of the night, but of course he has business to attend to on your behalf. He can't be here all the time. So why are your muscles tense? Why the pricked nerves and disturbing sense of discomfort? Your thoughts wander back to Luca and the events of the night. Why had 𝑭𝒐𝒅𝒊𝒕𔔄 and Javier conspired to destroy the sheriff? What could he possibly have done that they took such an extraordinary risk to put a stop to it? You have no answers, only more questions. Such is life in kindred society. And what of the changing dynamic between you and Luca? As is often the case after the admission of romantic interest, you play through the conversation in your mind over and over. Could you have said something differently, expressed your feelings in a way that would have come off as something more genuine, or maybe come on too strong? Is it too early to have second thoughts? You're just not sure. Best to put it out of your mind for now. Dwelling on it won't change anything that's already been said. You searched the outer chamber thoroughly, but nothing seems out of place. Maybe you'll feel better once you have had a good day's sleep. You put your gun back to its case before opening the door to your bedroom, half expecting to find an uninvited guest sitting on your bed. Nothing, not even a sound. You twitch involuntarily at the delicate scraping of metal from the front room, and it takes a moment to register that it's only Gerard unlocking the front door. Ma'am, the ghoul calls out. I'm here, you reply from the bedroom. I just got in. That's for the best, Gerard says. I need a word with you before you retire for the day. Sure. You step out from your bedroom. Gerard is taking off his jacket, placing it carefully on the hanger in the closet. It looks like he won't be going back out for a while. What's going on, Gerard? You ask. He slips behind his desk and sits down with a sigh. You can tell he's been busy all day. The life of a vampire's retainer is rarely dull. Miss Alicia Gray was attacked by a coterie of Tremere this evening, he says. After she thwarted the assassination, the perpetrator fled into the sewers. Miss Gray followed, along with her ghoul Jonathan and some mortal bodyguards. There was an entire coterie of warlocks down there, hiding out in flagrant violation of the fifth tradition. They arrived and stayed in the city unannounced, you say. That's not going to sit well with anyone, and it's a bad look for Corliss. Gerard nods. Alicia escaped and went directly to your sire. Jonathan is dead. Miss Corliss had no choice, ma'am. She's ordered a raid to drive the Tremere out of Ottawa. You'll be joining them first thing at sundown. Damn! People get attacked while I'm not there. Alright, next chapter. I'm gonna drink first. I'm gonna drink my tea. Let me add more water from my water bottle to the tea. I should refill my water bottle. But my water bottle is like on its last legs. I need to refill it. There's not enough water in the water bottle. And when I say tea, it's literally just plain tea. It's like water with like a tea bag. But it's like black tea, so it's a little bit like dehydrating in its own way. But I think that might also be because it might be like a very thick tea bag. Extra thick. Wait, let me just turn down the... What? The air conditioning is already max? Okay, let me turn it down a bit more. Okay. Chapter 7. Hospitality. Though your corporeal body rests still as a grave in your bed, your slumber is restless, mind filled to overflowing with a deluge of questions without answers, half-remembered glimpses of your mortal life, and anxieties about the blood hunt that will greet you when you wake. Of all the kindred you might have expected to call a hunt on a coterie of Tremere, Corliss would be dead last on your list. Of course, she hasn't been given much of a choice in the matter. Alicia saw to that. Was the diva really attacked as she claims? You find it hard to imagine Miss Grey running off into the sewers in pursuit of a would-be assassin, but stranger things have happened during your unlife here in Ottawa. Stranger things like Father Moretti's takeover of the church, St. Anthony of Padua. The court has become so obsessed with their political infighting that they seem to have little time for anything else. While resources they choose to aim at external threats have been firmly locked on Ward's anarchs with single-minded stubbornness that seems almost intent on ignoring any other threat that should crop up elsewhere in the city. A creature like Moretti would have been wiped out less than a week after setting up shop back when you were first embraced, but times have changed. Your lucid dream flickers into the interior of the police station, where you lured the sheriff away to aid the Anarch's jailbreak. Since then, the Brujah's interest in you has only ramped up, and now, for the second day in a row, you're seeing him in your sleep. You haven't had much time to worry about the implications of what might happen to you if the truth ever comes out. If Ward was looking for a way to make sure you had a vested interest in him remaining at large, he's certainly succeeded. You're not sure who should concern you the most, Corliss or Key, but you know in your bones that if either of them discover your part in the breakout, you won't survive the night. Finally, your restless, dreaming mind settles on a conviction that will be more difficult to reach in waking hours. I know that Ward is only doing what he thinks is right, but the Anarchs are going to make change the wrong way. I grudgingly support the Camarilla. Outside your haven, the sun rises to its apex, and your undead mind flees from conscious thought into the realm of proper dream, a restful sleep, deep and empowering. Come on, Briar, I have so much to show you. After Corliss and Arundel loosened their leash and let you out into the city on your own, you spend many of your nights exploring the world alongside Jordan Tremblay. Most of your contemporaries were indifferent on the topic of your continued survival, but from the very beginning, she showed great interest in you. So you worked together out of practical necessity. Jordan picked up on your training where your sire left off, rounding out the rough edges and expanding your abilities. Ooh, a large boost! Let me look at my stats. Okay. Dexterity is pretty good. Charisma, manipulation, composure, intelligence, wits, resolve. I think we want to boost intelligence and wits, and then have a small boost to charisma and resolve manipulation. Oh wait. Okay, this one has large boost to wits and stamina. Small boost charisma and manipulation. Should be large boost charisma and manipulation and small boost oh wait. Resolve and composure, wits and intelligence. I think Hello, Mal, welcome. I'm just thinking about what stats to increase. Give me a minute. I'm kind of leaning towards charisma and manipulation to increase, with the wits and intelligence going up. Alright. Jordan taught me how to look inward. Wait. No, wait. Charisma. Oh, yeah, this one. Wait, no. Wits and intelligence. Wits and. Wait, intelligence and strength. Composure. Let me look at composure and wits. Composure and wits. Actually, yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. Agile, upward trending social leaps between coteries of kindred became a game. Which of us could gain the majority of allies first? So if you don't know, Mau, so I'm basically going to be reading. So if you don't understand what's going on, it's okay. You can just listen for now. And you can look at the other bots later if you're not sure what's going on. Because we're on chapter 7 right now. We just started chapter 7. There was a greater variety of kindred roaming the Ottawa streets at night back when you were a fledgling. Feral gangrel, restless bruja, and more made their homes here, as well as a healthy complement of tremere. Many considered it a golden time for Canada's Camarilla, but it was really only a deep breath before the plunge back into civil strife and war. You and Jordan made the best out of the situation, learning what made different kinds of kindred tick, their powers, desires, and the differing philosophies between coteries. Knowledge in hand, you climbed the social ladder until you were positioned high enough that Corliss took you into her own personal service. Oh, okay, so charisma and manipulation went up by 1. And composure also went up by 1, which is almost to leveling. Okay. You wake at nightfall, feeling drained and empty inside. You check over your wounds, pleased to see that they've mended at last, but at the expense of a solid day's slumber. A quick trip to feed might be in order before joining Corliss's blood hunt. You stand in front of the mirror to get your appearance in order, and a young woman stares back at you, face pristine and bloodless, a picture of wasted youth. You pull a plain white shirt over your head and close a drawer. This is no time to be concerned with vanity. A sharp gleam catches your eye from the top of your dresser, and you retrieve your Desert Eagle along with the 3 magazines of ammo you have left. The last blood hunt you attended nearly ended you. This time you'll be going in with your eyes open, your weapon loaded. Outside the bedroom, the main chamber of your haven is quiet, the lights turned down to a neutral dim setting. Gerard's absence is conspicuous given the immediacy of tonight's hunt, but you can't concern yourself with your servants' comings and goings at the moment. You check the ghoul's desk for a note, pleased to find a paper tri-folded in the center with your name written on the outward-facing side. You open it and start to read. Your sire's servants have instructed me to send you to 𝑏𝒂𝒎𝒆 haven no later than 2 hours after nightfall. You are permitted and encouraged to feed before the engagement. Be well, ma'am. I'll be here when you return. Gerard. Well, that answers your question about where you need to be. You walk to the front door and grab your coat. You'll be wanting to be in full fighting form with less hunger to drag you down. Allowances have been made for you to feed, so you should make good use of them. We kept going to... Actually, I think it would make sense this time actually to go to get a willing victim along this person's blood dolls, because tonight we're gonna help find who attacked her. So I think it'll make sense here to go there and use her blood dolls. Alicia's herd of blood dolls spend most of the nights working for a high-end escort service, unimaginatively branded Ladies of the Night. Outcalls are the norm, but they do provide special in-house services for particularly wealthy or well-connected clientele and kindred. An immaculately dressed woman in an almost otherworldly, form-fitting red dress answers the door a full second before you intend to knock. "Miss Mare, I presume," she says in a sultry voice that probably goes over well with mortal clients. "Yes," you say flatteringly. You haven't been to the building in years, and you're quite certain that you've never met this woman in the long night since your embrace. "Do I know you?" "I don't believe we've had the pleasure." The woman extends her hand delicately. "Abigail, pleased to meet you. The mistress insists that her hostesses know to welcome her personal associates. Please come in out of the cold, you must be freezing. You're not sure the prince would approve of Alicia giving her help the names of high-profile kindred, although you suppose she would need some way of identifying who is who to avoid a disastrous mix-up. The masquerade can be surprisingly flexible, depending on who's doing the flexing. You follow the woman inside, and she closes the door behind you. The decor doesn't exactly suggest escort service more than it does a luxury hotel. A small fountain bubbles in the center of a wide lobby flanked by twin-carved mahogany columns supporting the weight of a majestic interior balcony overlooking the room. Beautiful women and equally gorgeous men congregate with two well-dressed clients above. So, how can we help you this evening? Abigail asks. I'm looking for special services. Abigail laughs politely. You'll have to be more particular than that, I'm afraid. We offer a wide variety of expertise, even for clients such as yourself. These services would be rather exclusive, you say, wishing you had acquired more information about how Alicia runs this place. Of course, she says with a smile. I'm familiar with your appetites. I've been aware for some time now. I was once on the short list to become one of the mistress's special servants, but then she shakes her head. Silly of me to even mention. Apologies. Regretfully, I've been instructed to inform you that such services are available primarily as outcalls. We do have one doll in-house at the moment, but feeding here should be minimized for the time being. The mistress implied that this was a city-wide edict, though she would never mention by whom. That's a recent change. It has to be Arendel's edicts after the threats of the Second Inquisition. So much has changed in recent nights. No phones, physical couriers where you once had email, and now no proper blood doll services. She nods demurely. Quite. It's been less than a month, and the dolls are still adjusting. Some of them find their clients' homes a bit less tastefully appointed than what they're accustomed to. Images of sewer havens and back-alley hovels hidden from the sunlight spring to mind. Not all kindred are as wealthy as their sire, and secure locations can be hard to find. So you have a doll here. Could I meet them? Of course, Abigail says, already in motion in anticipation of your desire. This way. Abigail uses a keycard to open a door leading into a small hallway cut off from the rest of the escort service. 4 elegant red doors branch off to the left and right, 2 on each side. We used to run all the dolls through here, she says. Convenient, easy access, all for a small fee, of course. The mistress needs to keep up appearances. Of course, we change the locations up every so often. Can't get too predictable. I should warn you that this doll is rather unorthodox. She approaches the furthest door on the right and opens it, revealing a lavishly appointed bedroom. A young mortal sits atop satin sheets reading a paperback. For a moment, you can't be sure of the doll's gender. You look closely as you approach. This one is young, you say quietly to Abigail. Uncomfortably young. We hear that a lot about Drew, Abigail says with a soft sigh. But we also have clients who prefer younger dolls. I know such things may not be of import to the mistress's associates, but I'm told to assure you that he's above the age of majority despite his looks. I'm right here, you know, I can speak for myself, Drew says, putting his book down. I'm not a kid. I can make my own decisions. He's definitely young for this line of work, maybe just a youthful face for his actual age? Abigail laughs nervously. We haven't had the time to work on refinements with him yet. You understand? I'm a bit comfortable with this, but I need to feed as long as he's willing. Of course I'm willing, Drew says. Do you have any idea what I'd be doing right now if it wasn't for this? I've never lived better. He looks at you impatiently. You gonna stick your teeth in me or what? You can see why we don't have him making out calls yet, Abigail says. It would be a disaster, you shake your head. But I can't afford to be too picky. Alicia must have chosen him for a reason. She nods. I'll leave you to it. Just meet me back in the lobby when you're finished. She leaves you alone in the room with Drew and closes the door behind her. When you turn around, Drew is staring at you. How you want me? You blink. What do you mean? Some of you like it when I pretend to be afraid. Some just come right in and do what they've gotta do. This is getting weird, but I'm damned anyway. I sink my teeth and drink my fill. Your hunger will wait no longer. You rush forward and grab the boy by the hair and pull his neck to the side, sinking your fangs into his tender flesh. He lets out a sigh of contentment as you drink your fill. When you're finished with him, you pull back, leaving him reclined on the bed, head back on the pillow as he breathes in deep pulls of air. At least he doesn't seem disturbed by what's happening to him. You're a predator. Maybe it's best to leave demoralizing mortals. Blood is blood. Exactly. It's like having lamb chop instead of mutton. You arrive back in the lobby, your appetite sated despite the nature of your meal. The more blood you consume, the more alive you feel, although you know it's a lie to tell yourself to hold on to your humanity. When it comes down to it, you're long dead, and your blood, like your time still walking this earth, is stolen. Abigail is waiting at attention beside the entryway, hands clasped together in a matronly fashion. I trust everything was satisfactory? Extremely. I'm quite satisfied, thank you. Abigail smiles broadly. Be sure to tell the mistress when you see her. The next time you return, I may be able to arrange something more pleasant. She bats her eyes. Is it you, or is she flirting with you? Maybe you'll have to come back soon and find out what she means. Or maybe you'll just avoid the whole thing altogether. Mortal entanglements can be a liability. Your appetite largely sated for the moment, you decide to move on, always aware there's a hunger for more that you can never fully extinguish. As you're nearing the sewer grate nearest 𝑵𝒂𝒎𝒆 lair, a red Subaru Jesty pulls to a stop beside you as its driver cranks down the window. You can't remember the last time you saw a car without electronic controls, no smartphones, no email, couriers hand-delivering notes between cities, and now we're stripping the electronic systems out of cars. If the mortals' goal in prosecuting their second acquisition is to force kindred to roll back progress by 100+ years, they seem to be succeeding. A man you've never seen before puts his arm up on the door and leans out, staring at you over a pair of thin, yellow-tinted sunglasses. Briar, right? He asks with an almost stunningly thick Brooklyn accent. He scratches long fingernails through at least 2 days' worth of stubble on his chin. The man is utterly repugnant, his very existence offending your toreador sensibilities. But you try to overlook it. You've been getting better and better at ignoring your natural revulsion in the face of those lacking any innate sense of beauty. Yes, I'm Briar. What do you want? Well, look at you, all prim and proper, the man says with a snort. I'm not just some random asshole. Bobby sent me to pick you up. Bobby? You mean Robert? Ward? The driver nods. That's the guy. Get in. He said that the last time he sent for you, there was a bit of a hold-up involved. He learned from that mistake. I don't got a gun. I'm under the orders to be civil with you. You sigh. He really knows how to send an invitation that's hard to say yes to. Courtesy ain't really Bobby's cup of tea, no. The man reaches back and pops open the rear door. You coming? How can I know you're who you say you are? Don't be a pain in my ass, the driver says. Fine. It looks like he's trying to remember something. Bobby said he's ready to come clean about your missing memories. He knows about the hunt, but this has gotta come first. He'll be quick. Alright, fine. I need to go, but make it very quick. You stare out the car window at a near endless stream of shops, closed for the evening, as the driver, his name is Stan, as he makes sure to tell you at least 6 times, prattles on in an endless babble of mishmash topics that have nothing to do with where he's taking you. You try to steer the conversation to how he ended up working for Ward, but even that ends up sidetracked. The man has a prodigious gift for mindless chatter, and other than making a quick phone call after he picked you up, he has remained engaged more or less constantly. After several minutes, you give up hope of learning anything useful. Been about 2 months now, the driver says in his thick Brooklyn accent. Bob brings me up to this frozen icebox, right? And we're looking for this chick he calls 𝒐vink. 𝒐vink, you perk up. Finally, he's saying something interesting. Where did you find her? That's the thing, Stan says. Took us weeks of chasing our own tails from dead drop to dead drop. Ottawa, Hamilton, Kitchener, London, then all the way back again. Nowhere we found her. You think you know where this is going, but you shake your head anyway. Right back at the first dead drop we went to. Bob just about shit a brick, which would have been one hell of a trick with him being dead. But yeah, there he was, there she was, just sitting on the park bench, cool as a goddamn cucumber, feeding those dogs of hers like she didn't have a care in the world. The two of them hashed things out, but the dogs wouldn't let me anywhere near her. Figured they'd be able to tell I was with Bob since I got his blood in me, but I guess if you're not full-on vamped, they know it by smell. Reminds me of this pit bull my friend had back in Queens. Get this, the guy trained it to... Sure, I'll ask why Ward chose Stan to be the ghoul. No harm in telling you, Stan says. Wasn't long after Bob left the Blue Bloods to rot in the snow up here. At least that's how he said it at the time. Our boy was pissed as hell. He must have had some contacts in the underground back in New York, because he shot up the ladder quick, even considering his particular brand of crowd control. He got caught up in a lot of anti-authoritarian action, and not all of it was peaceful, if you get my drift. Blowing off steam in what he considered a productive way, except it turned out that there were cops planted in the organization he was running with. When he found out, Bob went fucking mental and beat them so bad he couldn't recognize the bodies. Know what happens next though? He calls me up. I was a cleanup guy. I make messes go away. He calls me up and he's all fucking choked up about it. Says his beast got out of control. The cops have kids, he says, and he wants to make up for it. So I make the bodies disappear and pull a few strings to make sure kindly Mrs. So-and-so and her kids have a nice financial windfall. We worked pretty close for a year after that before I found out what Bob really is, and by that point I was too useful for him to kill. He shrugs as if it's the easiest thing in the world to say. So here I am. He pulls to a gradual stop at an intersection and watches a pedestrian walk by. Snow drifts down slowly against the backdrop of nighttime light pollution. It's the only time since you got in the car that he's been quiet. He licks his lips. I should probably keep some of that stuff to myself. Boss doesn't like me spreading specifics, and I only know what I'm told. I don't even know exactly what he wants to talk to you, but he must trust you enough to have me bring you to him. Yeah, he told me about your missing memories, but that wasn't so much to tell me as for me to tell you. Get me? What, okay. You nod quietly, hoping for more interesting tidbits, but none are forthcoming. Eventually, he takes a sharp left into a parking lot off Queen Street and prompts you to get out of the car. A hulking man who could only be Ward is reclined against a brown-painted brick wall, smoking a cigar, and orange glow lighting what little of you can see of his face through the padded hood of his heavy winter coat. Beside him, 𝒂💏 and 3 others you don't know have formed a circle around 𝒂💏, the feral you've already all too acquainted with. You're surprised not to see her 2 dogs as well, but you suppose they might have drawn too much attention to an already questionable late-night meeting. Briar, Ward says with a toothy grin. You made it. He crushes the cigar against the brick wall, snuffing it out. A part of you is impressed at the display. Any mortal can smoke, but for a vampire to brave even the smallest of flames as casually as he did requires a great deal of physical and mental control over one's inner beast. I should have sent Stan the first time I needed to get a hold of you. He didn't talk your ear off, did he? He was a bit chatty, but it's better than having your pharaoh grind a gun into my god. Good choice. I couldn't be sure that you come the other night, Ward says. 𝒂💏 suggested the gun and I went with her recommendation. Turns out, I underestimated you. Hopefully, both of you know better now. You say, I came here on my own to hear what you have to say. To the point then, Ward says. You want to know about your missing memories? You're not. That's why you brought me here, isn't it? One of the reasons, Ward says. He gestures you to come closer, and you follow his instruction. You're not sure how many people you want to know about the secrets Ward is peddling. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but the most important things take time to understand. It takes all your self-control not to tell him to get on with it already. Corliss is not your sire. Huh. Okay. That's almost too outlandish for you to make up. Let's say I believe you. Why would she lie about that? It's not outlandish to understand that basic kindred instinct is self-serving. Even our occasional altruism is committed with purpose. We're predators, it's what we do. She lied for a very simple reason. It benefited her. Corliss isn't all there is to this either. There's a lot more at play. Your memories are more important than you know. Okay. Okay, wait, one thing at a time. If Corliss isn't my sire, who is it? There are only two kindred who know that other than you, Warden says. Corliss would, you say, she had to. Who else? Arundel. That's why we have to find out what happened to him. Okay. Assuming this is true, how would you know about it? You're not even Camarilla. I was, Warden says. Even Corliss admits that. They all know me here for better or worse. They also know that I was close with the prince. Arundel and I didn't always see eye to eye, but there are things I know that those other licks would kill for. Have killed for. You're right about one thing, you say. There are a lot of people who want you out of their way. Have you ever heard of a dead man's switch? The concept was originally designed to stop machinery if its operator was incapacitated, usually to keep them from getting hurt or killed, but it can be also used in an offensive way, like a bomb that goes off if you die or disappear. He ships away from the wall, growing restless from standing idle. You catch a glimpse of what you could think to be a sawed-off shotgun carefully hidden on his back, strapped there beneath the bulky winter coat. What does that have to do with me? You ask. Not sure you're gonna like the answer. You're Arundel's dead man's switch. He knew he couldn't trust Corliss, so when she asked him to help her repress your memories, he hid triggers in your subconscious that will make them return under certain conditions, along with other planted knowledge that he thought would be beneficial for you to know. Certain conditions, like him disappearing. You remember the dream you had 2 nights ago. The details have gone hazy. Even kindred dreams are forgotten not long after awakening. But you remember a meeting between Arundel and Ward, an event you couldn't possibly have been present for. An old powder blue Ford pulls into the parking lot, its headlights cutting through the lazy snowfall until the engine cuts and the driver gets out along with the passenger. Ward visibly relaxes. I don't expect you to take everything I have to say at face value, he says. I can't unblock you. It's not really my wheelhouse, but you know someone who can at least verify that your memories have been altered. The car's passenger makes a beeline for you and Ward. Hey Briar, I knew I'd find you here. It's Jordan. I sigh with relief. I'm just happy to see a friendly face. I saw this in a dream last night, Jordan says. So when Ward's servant came to my door, I knew it was the real deal. He looks at Ward questioningly. I knew we'd be here, but I don't know why we're here. You frown, nerves getting the better of you. He wants you to verify his claim that my mind has been altered. Jordan frowns. Are you sure that's something you really want to do? It's more than a little invasive. I wouldn't want to poke around in there unless you really know what you're asking for. It's the only way we can know for sure you have my permission. I'll give you two some space, Ward says. He's no longer flashing his customary grin. His face is cold dead serious as he walks over to 𝒂𝒏 and the others. Okay, Jordan says, rubbing her hands together. Let's both sit down for this, it should be quick. I don't think Ward really understands what I can actually do. I can't exactly read your memories. I can scan you for influences, kind of probe and poke around your psyche. Ophelia calls it scrying, but I think of it more as an x-ray, except instead of seeing your bones and organs, I'm looking at your aura and soul. You sit on the pavement, back against the cold brick wall. Jordan sits opposite you and pulls her messy hair back into a top knot to keep it out of her eyes. You've used similar gifts in the days since your embrace, so you know the basics of what Jordan is about to do, but you've never turned your abilities on yourself before. You're not sure if that's even possible. You catch 𝒂𝒏 watching you closely out of the corner of her eye. Unlike Ward, it's clear she's not sure whether you can be trusted. Do I need to do anything? You ask. Not really, Jordan says. Maybe it'll be comfortable if you close your eyes? I'm not sure that's a good idea, you say. We have no idea who most of these people are. It will only take a second, she says. Go on. When you open your eyes again, you're no longer sitting against a brick wall. You're not even in a parking lot. Magnificent floor-to-ceiling windows look out over a cityscape not immediately familiar to you. Twinkling lights and high-rises as far as the eye can see through the night-shrouded horizon. Across the room, two women are arguing dramatically, silhouetted against the city backdrop. You try to stand up and intervene, but find that you're rooted to the spot. Somewhere in your subconscious, you know that this is a memory. You won't be able to alter the course of events, but can learn from them. The scent of blood pulls your attention to your right, where you notice the body of a recently killed mortal woman. It's hard to make out the face unless you focus in on that portion of the memory. I kind of want to check out the mortal face. You focus your willpower and forcibly alter your perspective, examining what would have likely been in your periphery view during the memory. Your vision swims as a sharp agony overwhelms you. This isn't a random victim, some mortal on the wrong side of a feeling gone bad. You know her, had feelings for her, and you killed her just moments ago. Briar, are you there? A voice intrudes on your memories. Your vision swims and then re-solidifies as the disagreement quickly descends into violence and the disembodied voice is forgotten. The woman on the right pulls a bulky handgun from her purse and fires twice. In the light of the muzzle flashes, you know the murderer for exactly who she is, your sire, 𝒖💐💄💄 Her victim falls back against the window, streaking it with blood. Two massive smoking holes burn through her chest. At first, you're certain that she's dead, but when 𝒖💐💄💄 lets her guard down and kneels over the body, the victim lurches off the floor and shoves her against the glass, stabbing 𝒖💐💄💄 mercilessly with a hidden weapon as she sinks her teeth into her neck. You try to crawl away as they struggle, but there's nowhere to go. The doors are locked and you don't have the key. By the time your memory's vision shifts back to the fight, 𝒖💐💄💄 has turned the tables again, and this time she's drinking deeply from her victim's neck. You try to call out, desperate to prevent a mortal sin that you instinctively know is wrong, but you're powerless as a babe, as a fleshling. For several minutes, all you can hear is the sound of a messy, vampiric feeding, not the discreet sucking of blood you've since become accustomed to, but more of a bestial ravaging, the draining of a life force. And then the door behind you bursts open, flying off its hinges as another vampire rushes into the room and flings 𝒖💐💄💄 away from the already decaying body. "Are you out of your mind?" Arundel bellows. "What have you done, Eden?" She responds shakily. "It happened so fast, I thought I had her, and then her hand, it was in my chest, tearing my guts out." She staggers back into the moonlight streaming in from the window. Her dress is in tatters. Her chest is an open, pulsating wound that's slowly mending before your eyes. She points at you. She saw everything. "We have to destroy her too." Arundel snarls. "Enough damage has been done already. Grace had to be stopped. But if the court finds out about this, we'll both be staked out in the sun. They wouldn't dare." "You know better than that." He stalks over to you, smoldering fury writ large on his snarling face. Arundel, always so calm and collected. He's barely recognizable like this. "Grace's child could be useful to us," he says, looking you over like a prime cut of meat. "Who's out of their mind?" 𝒖💐💄💄 grunts. "She's almost fully mended as the powerful 𝒏𝒐𝒐 does its work. How could we possibly explain her?" "You've been planning on taking another child," Arundel says. "Now you have one." He grabs your head and forces you to look into its calculating eyes. He speaks in strange tongues, and your world loses focus. All is darkness. Damn, we're adopted!" You lurch forward, nearly colliding with Jordan as you gasp for air with the desperation you haven't felt since you were mortal. Ward and his crew are arrayed around you in a semicircle. "Jesus, Briar," Jordan exclaims. "Are you okay?" 𝒐𝒏𝒄𝒄𝒄's arms are crossed and her eyes are boring into you. If you believe she could peer into your soul, you're sure that's how she'd look while she was doing it. "There was a fight, and I think I saw the corpse of my victim," you say before thinking better of it. You don't need to our local anarch to know what you just saw. If it's real, how could any of that be real? You feel like you're going to throw up, more mortal reflexes bubbling back to the surface as if you've forgotten your decades of undeath. "You see now that I was telling the truth?" Warden asks. No question, Jordan preempts you. Massive rewrites, but she shouldn't be able to see through them. I don't have that kind of power. Arundel wanted her to see. Ward mutters, you hit a trigger. Jordan helps you stand. You're feeling more like yourself every second, but it will take a while to digest what you saw. Ward was right. I've been lied to. I am adopted. Righteous fury burns in your chest as you think back on all the years you've lived with Arundel and Corliss's lie. How long they have been laughing behind your back, reaping the benefits of your labor while you move on from knight to blissfully ignorant knight. No more. You're your own woman now. Ward clears his throat. There's a storm coming, Briar, and enough with the dramatics. Sabine cuts him off. You wouldn't be here unless you felt that something about the Camarilla is wrong. Your existence is built on a rotten foundation just like this city, and now it's falling apart. So you can either join us or slink back to your masters. This is your last chance to turn back. Things are gonna get bloody, and you'll need to have a stomach for a revolution. She gives Ward a quick glance, but the Bruja has nothing to add. I think I will join the crew, but if they cross the line, I'm out. I don't think they will, but if they cross the line, I'm out. Because it makes more sense, like, the Camarilla betrayed us, basically. The top people in the top people in the Camarilla betrayed us. Even though we've been a part of their system for so long, they're the ones who betrayed us. Ward's face cracks open in an alarmingly wide smile that borders on unnerving. About time we got some good news, he crows, glancing over at Sabine's disapproving face with an unspoken, I told you so. And what about me? Jordan asked. I don't get a say in the matter. I wasn't making a decision for you, you replied quickly. I was just deciding for myself. You can probably join the hunt in time if you leave now. That is, if you want to. Jordan sighs. After everything I've seen, I think I was leaning this way already. Kindred society is ugly, Camarilla and Anarch alike. She looks over at Ward and his cronies. No offense, but ever since Arundel disappeared, it seemed like everyone just cares about cheering each other down. We can't keep existing like this. Something has to give. They're so focused on taking power from each other that they've forgotten the real enemy. At this rate, they'll eventually slip up and the mortals pushing their second inquisition will burn the city to the ground. Things need to change, and I'm not seeing any other solutions. So you're in or out, Sabine says. We don't have time for games or philosophical nonsense. What the heck? Jordan says, giving you a quick look. If she's in, I'm in. And I'm out again. No way in hell, Jordan says, throwing up her hands. Have you lost your mind? You want to attack Elysium? There will never be a better time, Ward says. All the heavy hitters are underground fighting with the Tremere. Keys out of the way, 𝒂𝒎 and Luca too. Even that assassin, Kashif, is getting his share of warlock blood. Alicia will be there, you say, and her flock of neonates and fledglings too. You want to destroy the keeper of Elysium. And what if Corliss is there too? Corliss is occupied, Ward says. She won't be. Did you think that this was going to be a bloodless revolution? Sabine cuts Ward off. You expected we'd waltz into Elysium and the Camarilla would just step aside and hand us the run of this place. Change comes when the downtrodden climb up on a stack of their oppressors' corpses and take back what's theirs. There's no other way to reach it. The elite pull the ladder up after them when they hide in their ivory tower. She leans over the bed of her brown pickup truck and pulls a curved sword out from under a tarp. Alicia Gray is a perfect example of the decay that's rotting the Camarilla from the core. She manufactured that story about the Tremere attacking her, you know. She found out that they returned to Ottawa and it was the perfect excuse to wipe out some competition. Pressured Corliss to call a blood hunt, and every vampire destroyed puts her one step closer to the top of the heap. Why risk yourself in an attack on your enemies when you can get them to destroy each other? Oh, Jordan got cold feet, yeah. But, I mean, to be fair, we are like hitting the HQ. Okay. Saving's right, Jordan. There can't be a revolution without blood. If any of them find out what we're doing right now, do you think they'd think twice before chopping our heads off and leaving us to rot? I just thought we were supposed to be better than them, she says miserably. But maybe you're right. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. We are better than them, Ward says. We're fighting for change, and they're killing people just to maintain the status quo where everyone else is ground between their boot heels. When did this turn into a full-on revolution anyway? Jordan asks. I thought you and Arundel were close before you left. Don't you care where he went, if he can be helped? Ward pauses for a moment and considers his answer as Saving grows increasingly impatient. Arundel wanted this. I'm sure of it, he says. Why else would have he tried to welcome the Bruja to Ottawa? He brought in the Banu Hakim, even welcomed the Gangrel. Last I heard, he was even thinking of taking in reformed La Sombra, though I'm not sure if that's a bridge too far. Point is, the Camarilla has been sidelining all of our clans for centuries. Mine, Halberg's, Saving's, and more. Arundel wanted a society where we could all exist together without fear or prejudice. Does that sound like a Camarilla attitude to you? The difference between me and him and me is that he tried to work within a system for change, and I couldn't convince him that the system itself was the problem. We came at it from different ways, but the philosophy was the same. Actually, I will ask, and do you think the philosophy will include destroying the Keeper of Elysium and anyone else unfortunate enough to be visiting neutral ground? Arundel wasn't a pacifist, Ward says. Almost no kindred are. We've all already died once. We feed on mortal blood. We're predators. A show of strength is all the Camarilla understands. So you're in? Alright, fine, we'll do it. Ward grins. Good stuff. He pulls an old brick phone from his pocket and auto-dials a number before bringing it to his lips. The thing looks like a child's toy in his oversized hands. Where to go? Start the countdown. He drops the phone and unceremoniously stomps it into the pavement with his steel-toed boots. We're on a timeline now. If we get separated or you have to contact me another night, just come back here and wait. We have this parking lot under surveillance. Dead drops have gotten too slow to be useful. So if shit hits the fan, come see us. He waves you and Jordan back to Stan's car. He'll get you where you need to be, but we're right behind you. Keep cool until we arrive. Just a few blocks, Stan says as you sit anxiously in the passenger seat. Jordan gets in the back and buckles her seatbelt as the small Anarch convoy pulls out from the parking lot one at a time. How are we supposed to do this, you ask? Elysium isn't on the ground floor. We have to take an elevator or the stairs. Either way, the cameras will tell Alicia's people that we're coming. Boss didn't tell you, Stan says. Figures. We've got a team inside, loyal from the years he used to live here. In about 5 minutes, they're gonna cut the live footage and replace it with loops from yesterday night. He takes a right turn on Bank Street. They'll kill the motion detectors too. It's a rough hack, easy to spot by a half-decent security team, but we don't need it to last forever. Just long enough to get up there without setting off an alarm. If they escape before we're up there, it defeats the whole point. He cuts around with a hard left and parks at the side of the road of an unused bus stop. What other vehicles pile in behind you? Ready for a party? Stan asks, cocking his gun and shoving it into his coat pocket. He flings the driver's side door open and steps out onto the pavement. Saving steps past him as her 2 Rottweilers pad out from the cab of her truck. They're wearing what looks like Kevlar body armor, specifically tailored for their well-muscled canine frames. What the hell have we gotten ourselves into? Jordan asks. Hell with it. They're right, you know. All this time I've been hoping for a change, but hope never gets us nowhere. But hope gets us nowhere. She pops the door open and joins you on the sidewalk. Let's go before I lose my nerve. Elysium erupts into pandemonium as the elevator door opens and Ward steps into the plush lounge, shotgun barking a significantly less cordial greeting than the upper crust of Ottawa society are accustomed to. Feral gangrels swarm out from behind him, more beast than man as they tear through the room, leaping between luxurious couches and chairs as they tear into the throats of Alicia Gray's servants before they can reach their stashes of firearms. Beside you, Jordan offers a shrug and a nervous chuckle as she falls back into a shadowy alcove. Within seconds, she could be anywhere in the club, likely sniffing out Alicia's location. Saving's Rottweilers leap over a nearby bar, chasing a fleeing man from whom you recognize, one of Alicia's vampiric sycophants. Saving follows closely on the dog's heels, and seconds later, the perfumed Elysium air is filled with the sounds of wet, flesh-ripping and terrified screams. Ignore their herd, Bard barks. We're not here for the mortals. Fine, Alicia. Whoa, Tuck, welcome! We're attacking vampires. We're vampires attacking other vampires right now. Okay. I think... Well, I know where she is, so... Save the people? No, we're getting rid of the people. I know where Alicia's secret lounge is hidden within Elysium. She always wanted her fellow Toreador to have a place of beauty to reflect and relax away from the unclean rabble. I plan to take advantage of this knowledge. Alicia had always taken special interest in her fellow Toreador, not so much out of any supposed clan unity, but for what she considered aesthetic purposes, who'd want to be trapped in a lounge with a reeking Nosferatu neonate, rambling on about Rembrandt as if he knows the first thing about art. Anyway, from past experience, you know exactly where Miss Grey will go when the commotion starts. I think I'll just tell Sabine to go. That would make sense. Like, I'm not gonna get my hands dirty. I'm just gonna tell them where she is. It's not up to me. You find Sabine pleasing casually in the door of the men's bathroom, watching her armored dogs tear apart another of Alicia's ghouls. His name is Miller, or at least it was when he still had a face. Not much more to be had here, the assassin says as you approach. Has Bobby found Alicia yet? You tell her what you discovered, and her eyes light up with zealous fire. I was starting to worry if we all had to kill were these boring foot soldiers. I think he may already be dead. Come, she says, and you don't know if she's addressing you or her dogs. They trot up to you, muzzles wet with dark red blood. She gestures you onward. Lead us to our Briar. I'd have this done. Music is intense. Yeah! Knock, knock, Ward says to Alicia mockingly through the door. There's no way to run. Why not face the inevitable with that famous Toreador pride? He turns to you with a half-apologetic grin. No offense to present company. Sometimes Toreador pride can be helpful. Enough of this cat-and-mouse game, Savink mutters as she retrieves two small packages strapped to her dog's backs and hands them to Harburg. The feral kneels beside the door and busies himself unwrapping them, revealing what looks like half a dozen plastic explosive and the triggering mechanism. Alicia's voice calls from the other side of the door. This was a mistake, Robert. She somehow manages to sound haughty even when cornered like a rat in a trap. You've overextended yourself. There's an Archon scouring the city looking for you, and you've just lit a beacon that could be seen from space. Archon? Ward mumbles, glancing at Savink before raising his voice. You didn't tell me there was a fucking Archon in Ottawa? To her credit, the assassin looks just as stunned as her co-conspirator. I didn't know, she replies simply. There's no time to draw this out. She lowers her voice and whispers to Hubbard. Set charges for a minute and a half. We'll be back on ground by the time they blow. Damn it! In the excitement and revelations leading up to the attack, you hadn't realized that your new allies didn't know about Adeline's presence. In your experience, if the servants know, everyone knows, but the Anarchs have been cut off from kindred society. You don't have much time, Alicia says. You may be able to break into my safe room, but my defenses will tear you to pieces. You've made your point, shown us how big your swinging prick is. Now you should run before the cavalry arrives and shreds you into a fine red mist. You take several steps away from the explosive, vampiric instincts rebelling at the thought of fiery inferno contained within, and bump into Jordan. She thinks Ward wants to gut her himself, she whispers. I don't think she realizes that they brought explosive. It's not too late to back away from this. Destroying fledglings and neonates is bad enough, but if we actually destroy the Keeper of Elysium, the Camarilla will never stop hunting us. You've met that Archon. She means business. Beside the door, Ward hesitates. News of the Archon seems to have shaken him more than he expected it would have. How could they have not known? Then again, Archons like Adeline are feared for good reason. Even Corliss hadn't known she was in the city until she presented herself in person to make demands. Yeah, maybe we should go. I totally forgot about the girl, the lady. You tap Ward on the back of his massive shoulders to grab his attention, while 𝒂💧 helps 𝒂💏 set the explosives. I think we should back off, you say quietly. Alicia is right about one thing, that Archon will eat us alive. What do you know about the Archon? He says, suddenly watching you very closely. I met her briefly the other night. She's been in the city for a while, but only just announced herself to Corliss. And you didn't tell me about it? Ward's face flushes with a surprisingly mortal level of emotion. You didn't think that would be important to let me know? I'm letting you know now. Taking an involuntary step back. You didn't give us much warning about this whole operation. 1 minute I'm picked up by a ghoul I've never met, then you're talking about repressed memories, and then minutes later we're attacking Elysium. At what point was I even supposed to have the time to think about briefing you on the events of the last few nights? The Anarch visibly pulls himself together and calms down. Do you know the Archon's name? Adeline. Jesus fucking Christ. Warden groans and turns his back on you to speak with 𝒂💧. They argue in barely audible whispers before seemingly coming to an understanding, and one turns to you. We're backing off for now, he says, worry showing on his face. I know that woman. She is not someone to be fucked with. But she has an entire continent to oversee, and she's in demand. We keep quiet for a while. Then when she's gone, we finish what we started. By the time she returns, we'll at least be in a defensible position rather than scurrying from hole to hole like rats. It's easier to fight something you know is coming. This is a mistake, Robert, 𝒂💧 hisses as she directs 𝒂💏 to pack up the explosives. I'm starting to question your devotion to the cause. You've been questioning me ever since I first saw you on the park bench, Ward says. This is my operation, and I am saying we pack it in. I'm an equal here. If we're in the Anarchs, I'm gonna pretend to be an equal. We've made our point. If a show of strength is what we are going for, then we've accomplished that. 𝒂💧 flashes Ward a hard look before disengaging and stepping away entirely without saying anything else. 𝒂💏 has barely removed the third explosive charge when the building groans and quakes beneath your feet. The Pharaoh whines anxiously and looks to Ward for answers that none of you have to offer him. Even 𝒂💧 looks disturbed. What was that? Jordan asks. Her eyes are wide with alarm. I didn't have visions about any of this. This can't be the end. It doesn't look like she believes what she's saying. She's here, Ward mutters. Adeline. It has to be her. He gestures to 𝒂💏 to pack up the explosive. He's already disarmed and leave the rest. We're leaving now. The 5 of you take off down the hallway, leaving half of the bombs behind, armed and ready to blow. You burst into the main rooms as several of Ward's remaining followers shake off their panic and join you in the race to safety. Something in the walls is groaning and support beams creak under a phantom pressure you can't feel or see. Ward's muscles bulge to obscene proportions as he pulls the metal doors open, revealing an empty shaft extending a dozen floors into the darkness below. Somewhere above, the elevator slowly creaks downward toward you. There's no time! Ward grunts before leaping into the darkness without a second's hesitation. Strongest survive! 𝒂💏 grunts as he and the other gangrel leap after their leader. 𝒂💧 gathers her Rottweilers, somehow managing to carry one on each shoulder before morphing into a blur and practically nose-diving downward, leaping between floors with inhuman grace, vaulting from side to side in an effort to survive the fall. Yeah, we celerity. We use vampire super speed. The chaotic world slows down to a calm, and you can feel the slow pulsing of your blood as you race to follow 𝒂💧 down the elevator shaft. Your feet touch feather light against small concrete landings that couldn't be much more than an inch wide, using them to propel yourself downward while occasionally pushing off the steel elevator cable for support and maintaining your equilibrium as you spiral downward. The elevator grinds to a halt on the Elysium floor above you, giving you just enough time to reach the bottom before a sharp, hot rush of air rushes down the shaft, pushing you out onto the ground floor where you crash into 𝒂💏. The building shakes for a moment and then it's still. You swear you can smell the fire, but there are no visible flames, at least down here. 𝒂💏, are you sure you deactivated those charges? 𝒂💧 asks quietly as she searches the lobby for any untimely visitors. A single security guard is collapsed over his desk, unconscious. I know what I'm doing, the Pharaoh replies indignantly. Why? Because you can smell as well as I can, the Elysium just went up in flames behind us. Briar was right to warn us. Ward re-enters through the building's glass door and tosses 2 great duffel bags in your direction. You unzip one of them, surprised to see that it contains a strange mix of oversized clothing. It's clear outside, Ward says. We're lucky it was quiet night. Throw those shirts over what you're wearing and let's get the hell out of here. Jordan pulls a bulky, formless sweater out of the bag and examines it dubiously. Seriously? You want me to wear this? To hide blood and torn fabric, Hallberg says simply as he pulls a dark blue turtleneck over his head. It's going to be bad enough after pissing off the city's camera this much, but if we get the mortal cops on our tail on top of it, we're well and truly fucked. You've barely stepped outside when you hear a voice call your name, stopping you in your tracks before you can get in the vehicle with Ward's school stand. You wince as if you've been hit with a physical blow and turn to face Gerard. He's parked right behind the Anarch entourage in his large Buick LaCrosse, leading out the driver's side door and staring directly at you. That's your ghoul, right? Ward grunts, one hand gripping the sawed-off hidden beneath his trench coat. How'd he know where to find us? I don't know, you answer honestly, but if he were going to look for me anywhere, this place is on the short list. Elysium isn't exactly a secret from our more trusted servants. Still doesn't answer why he's out looking for you, or what you're gonna tell him now that he's seen you here with me. You think dryly about how that's your concern as well. I'll drive with him and figure things out. Ward thinks about it for a moment and then nods. Not much we can do to avoid it now. Make sure he stays close. If you go running off, something's on a hair trigger. I can't tell you what she'd do if she thinks you're not trustworthy after tonight. He holds a hand out to Jordan. Come, ride with me. We're all going the same place. You'll start to object, but Jordan waves you off. It's okay, Briar. He just wants to make sure we can be trusted. I'll see you in a bit. I trust you have good reason to be leaving Elysium with a group of wanted anarchs. Gerard asks you, deadpan. Not many ghouls would dare question their mistress so blatantly, but long ago you'd learned that Gerard serves you best when given a certain free amount of free reign. You know what? I made a mistake. It might be too late to back out. Gerard grimaces. I would say that no mistakes can be undone, but if you've been seen attacking the Camarilla alongside these anarchs, you and I should prepare for an inevitable blowback, or even leaving the city entirely. You shake your head. It can't be that bad yet. I'll think of something. I'll trust your judgment, ma'am. Of course, Gerard has no choice in the matter. The ghoul's blood bond is strong. He'll remain loyal, whatever your decision in the upcoming nights. Why were you here anyway, you ask? How did you find me? The sheriff's deputies contacted me when you didn't arrive for the hunt. They were concerned that the rogue Tremere had captured or destroyed you. I assured them that you were likely just delayed, but they insisted the key won't you found as soon as possible. Elysium was a logical stop during my search. He points to a train of vehicles ahead that are starting to move. Should we follow them, ma'am? You nod. For now. Ward probably wants to debrief away from Elysium. He seems to trust me, but keep an eye on the woman he was standing to. She could be trouble if Ward loses control over the situation. Her name, Gerard asked. 𝒂𝒏𝒄 𝑪𝒓𝒆𝒅𝒊𝒕�. And hearing the way she talks to Ward, it's hard to know who's in charge sometimes. Gerard is a homie. That is definitely true. Sorry, drinking. Gerard pulls out of the parking spot and keeps a modest distance behind Ward's pickup. He turns south and trends that way for several blocks, eventually leaving downtown behind. Before long, you're wondering just where it is that the Anarch has in mind to settle down for the remainder of the evening. Gerard seems to feel the same way, and you can feel the tension building up with each intersection passed, with no sign of slowing down or stopping. You're passing through a long stretch of industrial roadway without the benefit of streetlights, only the stars and headlights to guide you. When Ward's pickup jams on the brakes and you're forced to a screeching halt to avoid colliding with his rear bumper, the smell of burnt rubber reaches your nose even from inside the cab. Through the windshield, you can see the Anarch step out of his truck and slam the door angrily, waving a hand in the air at the cars further up in the convoy, which also seem to have been ground to an unexpected stop. The air around you seems to decompress as a piercing whine cuts through the night, progressively louder until the first car in your lineup explodes, shattering windows and sending shards of shrapnel tearing outward in every direction. You watch in awe as the Toyota sedan jumps several feet into the air, twists and lands on its side with a metallic crunch, backlit by the golden-orange flames. In its blazing glow, you can see the outline of Ward bending down to retrieve his shotgun, and the dark forms of several other bodies swarming around like insects from a kicked anthill. You think you can make out Jordan's outline in the smoke, slowly following the others after getting out of Ward's truck. The sight of the fire alone makes you shiver with unnatural fear, even though it's not close enough to do you personal harm. How many more rockets do they have? And who the hell is they? Gerard managed to stay remarkably calm, all things considered, and looks to you for guidance. What should we do, man? There are 2 more cars behind us. It would be almost impossible to turn around with how crammed together we are. You swiftly realize that was probably the idea, your mind running through 100 possible scenarios, such as forcing you to a quick bumper-to-bumper stop and then picking you off one by one. I'ma get out of the car because the car's gonna explode, and then if I get out of the car, I may be like less of a target, and then I will help them, but I try not to gain aggro. This is hella intense. Exactly. I'll join you, man, Gerard says without a second thought. You take a second to weigh the pros and cons, but it doesn't take long for you to find yourself in agreement. Ghouls aren't nearly as strong as true kindred, but their supernatural strength makes them more than a match for multiple mortal foes at a time, and you have a feeling that you're gonna need all the muscle you can get. You push the car door open, and you're immediately enveloped in a suffocating surge of heat and smoke. Your undead body recoils from the source, and you can't help but think that the attackers would expect that of you. You duck low, head held below the smoke, as your eyes dart over the battlefield. Muzzle flares flicker through the night from across the road to the left. Whoever's shooting is hidden behind stacks of old tires in the parking lot of a deteriorating auto service station, long abandoned and starting to fall in on itself from disrepair. Past the shoulder on the right side of the road, a chain link fence spans the rest of the block, razor wire coiled along the top glinting orange in the flames. You won't be going that way. You'd be riddled with bullets before you were halfway up, and the coiled blades would slow your progress considerably. You continue beneath the smoke. But rather than directly counter-attacking the shooters like Ward and his associates are, you edge as close as to the burning wreckage as you can, manage without your beast breaking free. Eventually, your feet grind to an involuntary halt, and even though you're still quite a distance from the burning car, fear rages through your veins. No further. Okay then, it's time to get to work. While your bestial fear of flame works against you, your undead nature is able to assist you in other ways. A mortal walking through the billowing clouds of notorious smoke would choke and suffocate, but you're not burdened with such pedestrian needs as breathing. Wreathed in soot, you sneak around behind the ambushes until one of them leaves the larger group. He's dressed head to toe in black, hard to pick out in the night if you hadn't already been watching. You close in, night shrouded, the sound of your footsteps drowned out by the crackling of flames. You have no idea how the man heard your approach. Maybe he'd been luring you out all along, but as you rush for him, he whips around and fires a single shot into your gut. You stagger, which works out in your favor as his second shot misses entirely, giving you a solid opening for a counterattack. Okay, let's see. Dexterity is 3, composure. I think we can shoot back. We're trying to shoot back. You don't give yourself time to overthink your response. You drop to one knee and fire a single shot in your assailant's direction, hitting him dead center in the chest. He groans and stumbles, bringing his rifle back up to aim, but you don't let him take another shot. You fire twice more, each hitting mid-mass with near-perfect accuracy. After taking a quick look for any other ambushers lurking in the nearby smoke, you approach the body and kick the weapon away from his hands, just in case he's wearing Kevlar. No response. You nudge the body over to its back, relieved to find that he's dead. Briar, you turn back toward the main battle, not entirely surprised to see Ward standing over a small stack of mortal corpses. He's dripping in blood, but if you had to guess, you'd say that little of it was his own. Thought you disappeared and missed all the action. One of the men at his feet as his feet twitches toward the fallen knife, and Ward stomps a steel-toe boot down on the questing hand. You can hear the bones break as the man falls back, shock finally sending his body spiraling down a deep well of unconsciousness. Gerard isn't far behind, seems a little worse for wear despite having been attacked after being separated from you. Jordan and Saving step out of the darkness. It looks like they both got the better of their foes, an unlikely pair, but battle makes for strange allies. You run up to join them, scouring the service station for signs of additional ambushes lying in wait. Is that all of them? You ask. Who are they? They were all mortals, Warden grunts. At least everyone I thought was. He kneels down and slips a wallet from one of the corpse's pockets. A laminated card falls free. 𝑴�i𝒔𝒊𝒂𝒍� Ontario chapter. Police, Gerard asks. Or maybe government. Goddamn Second Inquisition, Warden grunts. It's got everyone coming out of the woodwork, guns blazing. There is no way these kind were legitimate government-issued vampire hunters, Saving says as she takes a look at the card. Feels more like a self-important civilian militia with delusions of grandeur. Spooks wouldn't carry badges like this. She bends the card into an arc between her thumb and forefinger, and even if they did, they wouldn't make them this cheaply. The real deal is like a shadow organization. Most of their fellow agents have no idea that SI agencies even exist and work alongside them. If that's true, it makes all of this even stranger, Ward says. They knew we were coming through here and when to set up a blockade. Someone talked, Saving spits, turning to stare in your direction. Don't be ridiculous, Jordan says, moving to stand in front of you. Neither of us even knew what we were getting into when you brought us out tonight. How could we possibly know your entire itinerary? Saving pulls her curved sword, and for a moment you think she's going to attack, but she thinks the better of it. I'll be watching, she says. You fought by our side tonight, drew blood, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but my eyes are on both of you. She sheathes the sword. She sheathes the sword and stalks off back toward her vehicle directly behind the smoldering one. She's pissed because it was almost her, Ward says. Could have tagged her car just as easily as the other. Who was driving that one? You point at the flaming wreckage. It's died down quite a bit since fighting started, but the interior hasn't burned itself out yet. Someone I've known for a long time. I keep quiet. That Arnak wasn't my friend or comrade, and it's not my place to speak about his destruction. Ward sighs as the fight drains out of him. It was the wrong place for him to meet his end. He survived, taking the fight right to the top of the Camarilla, only to face final death here in the middle of fucking nowhere. Goddamn bullshit. Gerard nudges you and speaks quietly, as not to disturb the brooding anarch. We should go. This place isn't well populated, but it's not too far away from the city. Someone will have heard the shots and have called it in. Jordan nods. Gerard, it's right. We all have to leave. If the police catch us here, they report it right to Key. That is, if he survives against the hunt against the Tremere, the Ward says with a sniff. Key always did have too much influence over Arundel. Would be good to get him out of the way. He waves you back toward your car. Take Jordan with you this time, and go your own way back to your haven. I'll take this as a sign that we shouldn't travel in packs anymore. He starts back to his truck. The door opens with a loud shriek of metal. Something from the explosion must have dented it. He settles down in a seat that looks downright miniature compared to his bulk and turns his key in the ignition. The truck roars to life, headlines cutting through what remains of the smoke and illuminating a stack of bloody mortal bodies. He rolls down the window, flashing you his signature grin. It looks forced, but you can't blame him. Welcome to the gang. You'll hear from us soon. He calls out the window before tearing out around the burned out car. Alright, we probably will stop here, but I want to check how many chapters are there overall, because I don't remember. So let's see. VTM Parliament of Knives. Total chapter. Let's see. Okay, there are 10 chapters. So I think next stream we should be able to... Wait, no. We can't finish all of it. We might be able to do... I'm not sure if we're able to finish all of it in one stream. We might have to like break it up into 2 different streams. But overall, fun game. Really like it so far. Very dramatic. Apparently, we have been betrayed by who we thought was the best peoples. So like right now, like our relationship with Corliss went down, but I would consider this like really down right now because she betrayed us. She never told us the truth about our sire. At least Jordan and Gerard lives, that's true. Gerard is the bro. Luca, I'm not sure how Luca would react to things considering she is potential girlfriend and she's on the other side now. But we are good with Ward. Not so good with Archon Adeline. So for some reason, okay with Kashif. Why is 𝒂💏 actually? Why don't I see 𝒂💏 here for some reason? I guess 𝒂💏 is supposed to... We're supposed to like be on not so good terms with 𝒂💏 either way. Is this the same universe as the game? Okay, so are you talking about Bloodlines, Mama? Okay, so we are 59% cordial and 54% loyal, which makes a lot of sense. That's just me in general. Okay, so the idea, yes, I would say it's the same universe as Bloodlines because if I remember correctly, Bloodlines is canon to the... It's basically canon to the Vampire the Masquerade universe. So the Vampire the Masquerade universe is called World of Darkness, and Vampire the Masquerade is actually not just Bloodlines. It is also it's basically a tabletop RPG. So it's like D&D, but it has its own universe with its own lore. So usually what people do is they either follow the lore or they try to make their own. So that way you can have like people, so you can, if you don't want to like make your own story, you can just follow the lore, you know, or make your own. So right now they have been producing a bunch of games, like text games. It's like D&D, but it's not D&D, you know. It's a tabletop RPG, but it doesn't mean that it's exactly like D&D. It's made by different people. But other than Vampire the Masquerade, in the World of Darkness, there are also different ones like werewolf and like mage and like mummy and like changeling and so on. So, and like hunter. So it's not just vampires. That's why like the world is like full of different like dark monsters. So Vampire the Masquerade, they have been, and I think they're also making some werewolf games. So this is just one of them, and this is this one I think is one of the better games that we've had from the text-based vampire games. I might play the others even though I've already played through them myself on my own time, but I think this is pretty nice reading times that we can do. I'm sorry that I stumble on my words. I'm not a professional reader, guys. I try my best. And it's also been 2 hours and 30 minutes of me reading. So yeah. I think I need to end this here. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Thank you. Tomorrow we are doing the Pokemon Nuzlocke. I'm not sure if we're doing the Nuzlocke like right away. It'll start at 7:30 p.m. as usual. Oh, it make me interested in something I don't know much about. You can look it up later if you're interested. But yeah, so tomorrow we're doing Pokemon Nuzlocke. I'm not sure it's gonna start the stream is gonna start exactly at 7:30, but it might be like half an hour of like just chatting before the actual Nuzlocke. So I will have to check in with Verdun on that. But yeah, this is but basically tomorrow we're having Nuzlocke probably until 12 a.m. So yeah, actually more like 11:45 a.m. and not 11:45 p.m. But yeah, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for coming. Oh wait, I should see if there's anyone to raid. Hold on. We'll see if there's anyone to raid. Guys, stay in the chat. Stay in the chat. We might raid someone. Let's see who's here. Oh, Fluffy is online. Okay, let's raid Fluffy. Okay, hold on. Let me raid Fluffy. Bring you to Fluffy. Fluffy. Okay. Redirect privileges needed. Ah, I cannot redirect to Fluffy. Apparently, I need like permission to redirect to her. Let me see who else I can redirect to then. I don't think I know anyone else, so I think we might just have to just end stream. I guess I could give you guys the link to her stream instead of just like redirecting you. So here's the link to Fluffy's stream. You can go there and say that this is like an indirect raid because apparently I can't raid her. So you can try and go there. She's playing Roblox right now. But yeah, alright. Thank you guys for coming. Bye bye now. Bye bye.